Hi, we're live.
The
So,
broadcast is live.
yes, it's live. And the reason that we're late is because Dan Gilbert is having Thanksgiving dinner with his family. And
It's only 8 o'clock there. They're probably just winding down.
right, he's got a house full of people and all of this. And plus, Douglas, I just got the baseball forecaster in PDF version. And I was like, okay, we could just put it off a little while so we could read the intro to this. Because I'm in one of the topics that we're going to talk about tonight is the fact that it's going to be so different preparing for this year as it has been in, previous
I,
season.
I've been spending a little time last week or so preparing for a leagues that I've joined this year, and it's a weird one because it's a points league, and they're actually counting some fielding things too. So it's like I feel like I'm learning a game that I've played for 30 years all over again.
Right. I mean, you can't really tell the I mean the projections every year obviously are flawed, right? So but add this year on top of it, it really does feel like you're learning it all over again.
Yeah. Well, this with the fielding stuff, it's like last year, Brandon Belt was the best player in that league because he hit well playing not in Candlestick Park or whatever they're calling it nowadays. Because he played most of his games someplace else, and he was a really good fielding first baseman.
So the first part of the baseball forecaster talks about the schedule that we had last year, and that it wasn't normal schedule. Obviously, a lot of 7 inning games, right? Double headers and stuff for teams that had COVID. They had to put off their games. But you would have home teams playing as a visitor to make up games
Yeah,
in 7 inning games. You had a lot of teams facing well, you just the it was skewed the way that the opposing teams fared as far as like Oakland. Okay, I'm trying to find this Oakland piece. Oakland played only a few games against teams with better than 500 record. That
that was part of the reason why in the playoffs I was picking a lot of White Sox guys because I thought Oakland didn't play anybody in regular season, and that's a good cheap way of getting players. Oakland did beat the White Sox even despite of that
they did.
in one of the better series. There weren't a lot of good series, but that was a good one. You know,
I loved baseball 2020. I really did. I guess I was just able to really grasp onto what it. I mean, you don't have a choice, so you take what you get and you just roll with it. And I feel like there was a lot of really good things about the 2020 season, and one of them for fantasy. I mean, the 162 game season is great, and I hope that it comes back. But dude, it's a long season, and if you start off really crappy, it's really hard. Even though there's always a way in baseball, but it becomes very hard to claw your way back. And so I think that what fantasy baseball lacks is a game that lasts like a month, or you could. I love drafting, whatever. But
I
this
know
year,
drafting is fun, but the game itself. I last in one of the leagues I was in that TJ Fridays game league, whatever,
yeah,
and I made a stupid mistake, and I'll admit that I made a stupid mistake. I confused two players. I confused Kobe Allard with Kyle Cody,
but
and
neither of those players matter though.
oh no, they really did because Kobe Allard on his own moved me from second place to sixth place with 1 week of work. 1 week he did it because there weren't enough games. I thought Cal Cody had a 2 star week. Kobe Allard had a 2 star week. I drafted Kobe Allard beside the wrong guy. He pitched 4 innings, let up 11 runs over 2 games, and that literally he single handedly last year kept me out of winning that league because I was like a point and a half out of first going into that, and I lost 11 points, and there was no chance I was going to make that back with 5 weeks to go or 4 weeks to go, whatever it was. And
So
so that's the thing about the short season is like
every
it's
game
one
counts
good
so
week.
much.
I mean, if you in the notes on Chandler's thing,
Yeah,
he was talking about Trey Turner's the second
yeah.
last season. He had 7 RBIs, and that moved him from like 18th place to second place for the year. 7 RBIs
Yes.
one game, and that's the problem. The thing that makes baseball, I think, more interesting than football or the other sports is because there's so many games that you even though it's still a relatively small sample size, it's enough that you can have a bad spell, you can have a bad game, you can make it back, and you kind of see what a person is over. You kind of get a feel for what the person actually is as a player, as opposed to you just got him for a hot 3 weeks.
Totally.
or a full 3 weeks.
So Ron Chandler talked about both Luis Robert and Trey Turner, and he brought up, and this is really drives the point home about how much each game counted in a 60-game season. Where Luis Robert started the season through August, he was batting 297 with 10 home runs, and that was by the end of August, and then after that he hit 136 in September, and he finished the season with a batting average of 233. But he was like all the going thing.
He was the second runner up for the AL Rookie of the Year.
And then we see Trey Turner, right? He finished the season ranked number 2 overall in rotisserie earnings, okay, according to Ron Chandler. But he would have finished several spots lower, 18 spots lower, actually, if because he had 7 RBIs on the final game of the season, and it moved him past 18 different players in RBIs and gave him the now number 2 earnings.
And it's a weird thing, and so
it was so much was put into so few games. So like even Adalbert, anyway, whatever. Let's just call him Mondesi. Okay, Mondesi. He started the season batting 179 with 0 home runs and 8 stolen bases, and then from that point on, that was after 37 out of 60 games, 37 of 60 games, so like 2/3 of the way through it. This guy has no home runs, 8 stolen bases, batting 179. He finishes the season after that. The last 22 games or 23 games, he's hitting
378, I think it was.
376 with 6 home runs and 16 stolen bases. So he literally ranked outside of the top 500 after 37 games and finished the season. I mean,
when I read that, I thought Mondesi has been throughout his career sort of a guy that is a second half player. I think he's got lots of talent, but that's sort of the thing. But at the same time, getting back to Robert was a rookie, and when rookies come on, a lot of rookies will have that, they'll whatever the juice of being in the big leagues, and they'll just be great for 5 days or 15 days or whatever
until the pitchers figure them out.
And then the next question is, when they figure him out, does he make the adjustments? And because there's only a 6-game season, we don't know. He never had a chance to make the adjustments. You know what I mean? Like by the time, you're not going to fault a guy for having a bad month. You know what I mean? Like maybe he would have figured this out and finished the season, not 232, not 350, but 278 with more home runs and more steals or something. And then he would have been a guy that we'd be talking about in the first 2 rounds, maybe,
For sure. I mean, Luis Robert came and he did like Nixon. Well, okay, who was it that did that? It was Riley. Remember Austin Riley when he came up, and Austin Riley was like really good he had like 8 home runs in the first week or something. Yeah. And then pitchers figured him out. Now, Luis Robert obviously has talent, but I'm concerned that they did figure him out, right? They did figure out him.
No, it's pretty obvious they figured out his first thing, because he is. I mean, there's this thing about like the way the world plays baseball versus the way that America plays baseball, and we're a lot more analytically minded. Whereas, especially where he comes from, Cuba, their thing is to like express the player's natural talent. So if a guy's a first pitch fastball hitter, the coach usually goes swing at the first pitch. You know what I mean? We would do that. We try to break him of that. We try to change people.
Why do we try to change people all the time?
Because I don't know what the real is. I think it's rationalizing the role of the management. It's like they want to add something, so they got to tell them something, and they're like, so they're looking for any little edge here or there, and they find this thing like, if you laid off the first pitch, your betting average might go up 15 points or something, right?
Well, how about the fact that like the only reason they're in Major League Baseball is because they used whatever it is that, like, I don't know. I just don't think we should be spending a lot of time fiddling with people's natural batting stance or like tendencies, whatever it is. So let's moving on. So that's what Ron Chandler talked about at the beginning. And I'm really excited to read the rest of the intro, because we had a half-hour break and I didn't even get through like 10 pages. But I got a grasp of when I saw there was only 10 minutes left till we had to come on. I was like, then I skimmed through a lot.
I did the same thing. I'm like, there's no way. But the question that I had going into that was, was more or less answered, and the answer was 17 pages long and full of data, but how do you judge this year?
Right. That's the
And
question.
and Chandler's been doing this for a long time, and so his take on this is probably worth more than my take on it or many people's takes on it, because he's kind of expected to put this out every year. Like I
Yeah.
wouldn't have blamed the guy to go, who knows this year? Let's throw it up for the thing. And I think that more people are going to do that than not. I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunity in this game because a lot of people are going to be flying in all sorts of different directions. And I think more often, even people who read experts' work are probably going to find. There's always this thing about fantasy football. They say when people are downplaying fantasy football is that everybody plays the same team because all the people agree with each other. You know what I mean? There's like one idea, right? And there really is. It's like if somebody likes this running back, everybody likes this running back. If somebody doesn't like this running back, everybody doesn't like this running back. In baseball, because there's so many, because the game has pitching and hitting, you actually can have multiple different strategies to win the season. You can do a pitching strategy, you can do a batting strategy, you can do a mixed strategy, and you will find normally in years, 7 or 8 different like boxes of opinions that you're going to when you read like the industry people. This year, I bet you might have 30 different opinions on things because there's so much to choose from. And this is what Chandler was saying. Like he's saying that, he asked the question about how much you're going to wait last year, and you got some people said not at all. Some people said I'm going to weight it less than what I should weight it at because like mathematically it was a third of a year. Some people say we'll just count it as a third of a year.
Yeah, that's what Chandler did, and that's what Chandler ended up doing.
But historically, looking at the way people project things, is last year's stats generally predict this year's stats better than the other things that they use. They're none of them are perfect, but that one's better. And 2 years ago is worse than 1 year ago, and 3 years ago is worse than 1 year. And most of them will do like a 3-year average because that's better than a 2-year than 2 years ago. But because you don't have that data point, which historically makes up 40 to 60% of what people are doing in their predictions, because that data point is last year, which is this complete wild card.
Yeah,
you're going to have. There are strange players that how do you predict them? Like, the guys like Luis Robert. I think there's going to be people that'll have Luis Robert as high as like top 30, and some people have him outside the top 100.
Okay.
Even weirder guys like I found myself drafting and I did a couple mocks with P365 and with Tim McLeod's group, and I found myself waiting on a first baseman, and then winding up drafting Bobby Dahlbeck and or Jarrett Walsh, right? Both guys had really strong, incredibly short periods of time, like 3-week seasons, right? Jared Walsh hit like 11 home runs in 3 weeks, and Dahlbeck hit 10.
Well, Dahlbeck has a job, I think, going into the season. I think that he's a starter, so that's a good thing.
Who's the starter in California? Los Angeles Angels. I think Pujols isn't this like his last year in his contract, and
he's there. Yeah. So let me say one thing real quick. Ron Chandler did end up, for the baseball forecaster purposes, I was looking forward to this book for a long time. Like, I've been waiting for this to come out. I'm super excited. So he did just multiply the stats and use a 2.7, basically multiply the stats by 2.7 to prorate it out to a full season. And there's certain things that he brought up in the intro that I think are valid points, because that is really what I'm doing. I'm just multiplying it by 2.7, and that's what I'm coming up with. Like, you can't just completely.
The only thing I would say is that I would adjust it if the numbers seemed a little bit too weird. So I'm not going to take Shane Bieber's strikeouts and multiply by 2.7 and think he's going to get anywhere near that number, because that number would be like 406 or something, right?
I don't really know for the pitchers like strikeout rates, but
I would look at it and go, that's too high. I'm going to say he'll probably get to 300.
Yeah,
and I would probably project him above that a little bit, like 317, 322 maybe. But there's something like that. If you're a guy like Jared Walsh, if
he's though, you can't really.
Who's the guy from the guy who had that monster season for the Yankees? Luke Voigt. He had 21
yeah, okay.
games. 20 home 60 games, so you multiply by 2.7. You really think he's gonna hit 48, 50 home runs? I don't.
No, well, he could
But
though, because he
he
has.
could. He
So
could.
there are like a couple of underlying statistics that are going to be across the board, whether it's a short season, and there's a couple stats that actually they start to like become, what's the word? They they settle in pretty quickly. Okay, so for fly balls and ground balls, definitely that's a stat that you can tell almost immediately about a hitter. It doesn't take a lot of at bats for us to see.
You get 100 or so in about a week and a half. You know,
Right. They stabilize. Okay, they stabilize. Okay, right. So we do know that some statistics stabilize quicker than others. For pitchers, it's the fly ball and the ground ball tendencies. And for hitters, is it the walk rate and
well, to me, the walk rate seems to always just hold still. It's like if a person takes a certain amount of pitches and walks at 6%, he'll always walk at about 6%. Now, if you only have a 3 week sample, you might have some year where he's 14% or a year where he's at 1. But if he was to play 100 games, if he's a 6% walk rate guy, he's not going to fluctuate from that much. You know,
I mean, there's some people, and I'm sure some experts will go into 2021 and say to themselves and to the people that read their stuff that like maybe we should just forget about 2020 altogether because it's maybe it's I mean Al Cola is one of our listeners here, comes to the chat room, one of our friends. He does not believe in 2020 at all, and I feel like there are certain things that are going to affect next year, such as we did see a trend heading into 2020 that pitchers were, I mean, starting pitchers were getting less innings. That was a trend that we've been seeing for quite a while. And bullpen guys were starting to pitch more innings. And now that with this 3 batter rule and stuff, I don't know how much that's changed things, but what do
I
we
would
expect as far as innings pitched for next year? Like,
I went into 2020 thinking that you would see a lot of relief pitcher innings, and we didn't.
I do.
The guy that led the league in innings pitched from a relief pitcher this year pitched 31 innings. You know, I mean that was it. There was only like 4 people over 30, and they weren't the names that you would think of either. They were just the guys because there was the
They
weird
were
thing.
bullpen guy, like,
Yeah,
um,
they were either very young bullpen guys or journeyman bullpen guys, but they weren't the star pitchers of that bullpen. They were the guys that came in when you were down. They were the bullpen guys that would come in when you were down 7-2 in the third inning and they would pitch 2.5 innings. Those are the guys that got the innings, not the Dylan Betances or even like who is the rookie of the year kid pitched middle relief. He only pitched like 20 innings, 18.5 innings, something like that. You know, I didn't see it happen that way, and that was because the other thing that happened was they sort of expanded the rosters to 60. I mean, you only could play 28 at a time, but there's a fluidity to the bullpen, so people would come in, come out, come in, come out of the team, especially if you were the marginal guy that wasn't, if you were the closer or the setup guy, you played, but if you were the middle relief guy, once you had a cold day or two, then you'd go to the other camp and they'd bring somebody else over.
they also had a lot more players on their roster this year than they have in past. And even though, I mean, typically we were going to start with, we weren't going to expand in September, right? Did we already have a rule in place that we weren't going to be expanding the rosters in
I
September?
thought they were only expanded a little bit, like it was like to 28, I think, as opposed to 40. Like you're going to get a couple more players, but not that many. But there was a limitation on that.
So I'm starting to read these comments at Facebook. So I'm trying to keep track of comments at Facebook and at the website. Do come to the website if you haven't been there. It's free. We chat all the time in the chat room. He brings up Devin Williams.
Yeah, he pitched 18.5 innings, I think it was, right?
He pitched 27 innings in 2020 and in 22 games. So he's obviously a reliever, but he fucking struck out a ton of batters, dude. This guy, but he was striking out batters in the minor leagues.
And that strikeout rate is one thing that from 2020, when someone says I'm going to discount the entirety of it, I'm not going to discount the strikeout rate. Now,
Well,
Pitching,
you can't because if you look at 2019 and 2018 in Double A and Triple A, he was striking out like in okay, for instance, in 2019 at Triple A, he struck out almost 15 batters per nine, and then I mean in 2020 at the major league level, he actually became a Brewer and made his debut in 2019. He threw 13 innings. He only struck out nine per nine, but that's his first little taste of.
yeah.
But then in 2020, he came up, he pitched 27 innings in 22 games. He struck out almost 18 batters per nine innings, walked three per nine. I mean, that's another thing. The walks per nine, the walks
The
and
rates are going to be fine, but the real question is how much is he going to pitch? Because if he's 10 per nine, there's a big difference between him pitching 41 innings and him pitching 67 innings. And
what do you mean 10 for nine? What does that mean?
10 strikeouts per nine, if whatever his number is.
In
The more,
2019,
whatever number it is,
it's 18 now.
The question is how many innings is he going to pitch? And the more innings that he pitches, there's a chance that number will come down. Because you're looking at that small sample size versus a skewed roster. A lot of one of the things I found interesting in the Chandler thing was they had a page of all the COVID guys, and there were like something like 62 names of people that it was more than that. I think it was almost 100 names of people that missed time because of COVID, and there was like 22 names of people that took the entire season off. Some of these guys aren't that important. But a lot of those strikeouts were against guys that shouldn't have been playing Major League Baseball.
I don't agree with that, dude. This guy.
Well, no, it's like no. If there wasn't for COVID, the guys that he faced, some of the guys that he faced would have not played Major League Baseball last year.
Wait, who are we talking about?
We're talking about any player beyond any batter beyond the first 14 batters on your team is somebody that's a minor leaguer unless there's a series of injuries. And so. Some of that's, that's one of the reasons why I'm going to discount Bieber's strikeout thing. And one of the reasons I'll discount this a little bit is that, yeah, he's a great strikeout guy, but he was facing, in many instances, double A opponents.
Check this guy out, okay? I have to admit I didn't know a lot about Devin Williams before it was brought up. Just in this show, we have somebody listening that is telling me about Devin Williams. The guy had a .33 ERA. Okay, he is actually he was a starting pitcher. Now he could be the closer, and I agree. The listener said that I can't see your name, so it just says Facebook user. But either way, whoever it is, he says that Devin Williams could be the closer because Josh Hader is better as a setup guy. As he's more useful to the Brewers machine as a reliever than
is Corey Knebel a free agent? Because he pitched fairly well, and he seems to me to be the guy that's going to close for him. Yeah, and that could be a team with, if you go Williams, Hader, Knebel, that could be better than the old Royals thing with Davis, Holland, and.
How are you going to bank on this guy, dude? Knebel. He is not that good. He had a good season for a closer. He had one good closer season, and then now, though, even just last year, his ERA was 6. I'm not really sure, but
I mean, that is like with relief pitchers because they pitch so few innings. Yeah. That's a 6 ERA is what, maybe 3 bad outings, 2 bad outings.
For sure, this year it totally was. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
It's hard to do that even in a regular season. If you have a closer with a 3.72 ERA, you can often look in and go, yeah, he blew 4 saves, and that's where it all came from. But the other games, he was lights out.
He had Tommy John surgery just recently, so he's coming back from that. That's could be why he had struggles. He had one good season as a closer. You know me, I'm a big fan of Trevor Bauer, so I'm not one to be like, oh, he had one good season. That's Trevor Bauer. Seriously, he's had one great season. The rest of the time, he's like over 4 ERA. So I'm not like trying to dog on anybody. But when you see that there's one year that stands out in comparison to the rest of the seasons that they played, you kind of have to wonder if maybe that was like that token year that they had,
Yeah, where everything worked out right or whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
Didn't get caught or whatever it is. But, last year, in normal years, you had like maybe 2 what ifs. Last year there's probably half a dozen, maybe a dozen what ifs.
Okay, so let's move on to the next thing.
I did want to say one thing. Well, going back to when I was talking about drafting Dahlbeck and
okay, yeah,
Walsh. I'm in this draft with people that are industry guys, right? And for some unknown reason, everybody loved the Dahlbeck pick and hated the Walsh pick. And they're if you look at them, they're not too different. If anything, Walsh has got the better pedigree. I don't get it. You know
But
what I
he
mean?
doesn't have a job. That's the problem. So
He's the best first baseman in the Angels organization. Angels have a history of making huge mistakes with players and things. So, yeah, I don't trust it there. But if he had the job at first base, the guy hit. You go back 1 year in 2019, he hit 37 home runs in the minors.
this guy's a pitcher, right? Jared Walsh. He's a pitcher.
He's a both player.
Yeah.
He's a potential both player.
I don't believe that that's even a real thing until I actually see it. And even Shohei Ohtani, with all of his excitement and all of this, he's not going to be a pitcher and a hitter. And then who's the guy in Cincinnati now? There's
the center fielder. He actually does play center field. What's his name? Not Finnegan. Ryan.
He's a good pitcher, better pitcher than hitter. But I think Ohtani's a better pitcher.
He's actually one of the reasons why that guy gets to play is because he's a plus center fielder. He's a really good fielding center fielder.
He's a great pitcher, dude.
Yeah, he's a good pitcher.
His name is with an L, I think. His name is with an L. I want to say his name has an L, but anyway,
yeah.
Going back to Jared Walsh, I understand why people think Dahlbeck is a better choice. Probably number one, he does have a spot to play now because they've gotten rid of Mitch Moreland again. I don't know what the problem with Mitch Moreland is.
I'm a big fan of Mitch Moreland. Have been for a while. In the last 3 years, he's paid off incredibly, and that's one of the reasons why I felt I haven't had to pony up to get Anthony Rizzo or one
nothing. You have to pony up zero money, dude, to get him. Okay.
I'll take a flyer on a rookie, and I'll take Mitch Moreland, and my first base will be more productive than 6 teams on my league, and it lets me be bigger someplace else.
So it's Lorenzen. I learned this from
Michael Lorenzen. Yeah, that's the guy's name. Thank you, whoever that was. Was that Malpal? Because I know he's in the chat room.
Malpal's here. Nice to see you, Malpal. It's so early for you guys. It's like I'm probably gonna wake Lenny up with my baseball, whatever. It's 11:30. Okay, so we do know that there's a couple of stats that do stabilize quickly, and we can look at those and see trends. And there are going to be ones that stand out, but I don't think that it's completely irrational. I don't think that it's smart to leave out the entire season, especially with things that we've already seen trending. If they continue to trend, you can kind of look at that and say, all right, it's probably the true trend, right? But with things that are completely out of control, certain players that were just completely either really good or really crappy, or what about players that took the whole season off? Like Marcus Stroman, who is such an annoyance, Marcus Stroman. He's always got something to say, and he's just not that good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's one of those guys that even when people loved him in fantasy, I never really got it because at his best, he's like 3/4 of Kyle Hendricks. He
strikes out more batters. I think he
maybe one more. He's not a big strikeout guy.
Well, he used to not be a big walk guy, but it seems like lately he's been walking up people left and right. That's been his problem for me the last couple of years. That he's just not, whatever it is, he doesn't have.
People had high hopes for him, and he looked really good when he played for Team USA against Puerto Rico. But
why does he act like he's better than he is, though? His attitude is like.
I mean, I think that at some level, if you make the big leagues and somebody's willing to pay $11 million, you have the right to talk crap to 99.5% of the people in the world.
Is it 11 million or 18 million?
Whatever the hell it is? It's like there are like Mike Trout could tell him to shut up. I can't.
Mike Trout could tell anybody to shut up, pretty much. He won't.
But even lesser pitchers can't really tell him to shut up.
Okay. So Oakland won the American League West while playing only 6 out of 60 games against winning teams, 3 each against the Dodgers and Padres, and also playing over 80% of your schedule against baseball teams that were not good teams. And the Padres and Dodgers actually had a really easy schedule too. They each faced.
I was banking on them not going far because of the easy schedule, but they all went. Padres won the first round.
Padres are gonna I hope that Padres, one of our guys that filled out I hope that everybody joins into the contest that we're having, a free agent contest. You get to choose what team players go to. It's I don't know if we're going to give out $50 or if we're going to give somebody a hoodie or something like that. It's going to be a decent present. And it's definitely free to join. So all you have to do is go to the website, lettymelnickfantasysports.com, and you might struggle to find it, but look on Facebook. You'll see the link there, or reach out. Anyway, one guy that came and he couldn't see his responses. He wanted to make sure that he had filled it out properly, whatever. He chose for Bauer, the San Diego Padres, and I was happy about this.
I mean, I could see it. I mean, the Padres have shown that they're willing to make moves, and that's the
they
spot.
just got Clevenger. Clevenger is out. Okay, first of all, Clevenger and Bauer.
Especially with Clevenger being out. I mean, like if Bauer really is on his 1 year kick, that's the perfect pick because you'll have Clevenger the year following, right?
Well, Bauer isn't. Bauer, what do you think? Do you think that what do you think he's going to do? I mean, literally, it's all over the place. Guesses of like what Bauer's going to do. I am firmly a believer that he will choose a 1 year contract over any multiple year contract if he gets something that's even remotely close to reasonable.
I haven't filled out a form on that because I have actually very little thought about it. My thinking is there's going to be a lot of people who are free agents that are unsigned this year.
Why do you say that though? Maybe some players, older players, I think are going to have a tough time. Like Mitch Moore.
When I say a lot, I mean more than most by a factor. Like normally there's a handful. There's 8, 9, 10, and maybe 4 or 5 of them probably don't deserve a contract. I think this year there'll be a lot of them where, I mean, but then you see Drew Smiley get an $11 million contract or whatever he got, which that one makes no sense to me. But it's because it's like these teams are trying to save money, and most of these guys, I mean, there's 8 or so really good names that are in the pile, but everyone else, it's like I don't know.
What have we seen so far though? We've seen 2 pitchers get the qualifying offer that were not, in my opinion. I mean, I'm a fan of Gausman. I do love his potential to strike out batters. If Dan was here, he would be able to talk Kevin Gausman a little more, but he's not. He's busy doing whatever. So, and then even Marcus Stroman, I just don't think that he's.
I mean, Gausman to me has probably been a bigger disappointment over the course of his career than Marcus Stroman has been.
Okay, Chris Bassett. What do you do about a guy like Chris Bassett? He's never posted a sub-3 ERA in his career. He's like, this guy's not young either. That's why I look at him and I'm like, this guy is not a young, like up-and-coming pitcher.
You let somebody else take him in the 8th round and laugh at it.
Okay, what about Dinelson Lamet? He bested his next best seasonal ERA by nearly 2 full points. We like Lamet going, but I was always...
We like Lamet, but we don't like Lamet that much. I mean, like, he's probably going to be drafted in the first 100 picks, and I don't know if I'm going to go that high. Whereas if I could get him at 126, 122, I'd be okay with that. If he was my 3rd, 4th pitcher starter, I'd be okay. But he's going to get drafted higher than that. Because the thing about the drafts is it just to screw up the ADP, it just takes one guy, and there's going to be a lot of one guys because there's going to be a lot of ways to rationalize this year that this player is going to be good. Because you can say he had a great last year. You can say he had a great 2019. You could say he had a great three years. You could discount last year. You could discount 2019. You can do all these different things, and almost every pick is going to be justifiable. And if you're in a 15-team league, there's going to be a moron. Well, not a moron, but there's going to be one guy that has a very inflated pitcher, a very inflated feeling about Dinelson Lamet.
Okay, so check it out. Just last year, I have the ADP pulled up from last season. Dinelson Lamet at Yahoo, he went 117th overall. At NFBC, he was 118 overall. At RT Sports, 127. CBS, 137. And ESPN, 146. So he was literally going like. Well,
that's a function of like the NFBC was, they had more continuous drafts, whereas. So the numbers coming down, whereas the CBS, ESPN being late, those guys had more early drafts.
This is like overall. This is completely overall. It
is overall, but I'm just saying that there's less people that start a league after the season starts on CBS and ESPN than there are in NFBC. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so the fact that when I went into this season, I was not going to be having any piece of Lamet on any team because of the where he was going in draft.
At that price. Now I'm saying if I can get him at last year's price, I'm okay. But
Okay.
that's where I draw the line. And as Malthal brought up, it's like he was fortunate he played 60 games this year because he's really never really played a full season.
So I ended up with Lamet on my Tout Wars team, and I literally almost won Tout Wars. I came in second place or third. Anyway, came down to the last week, and Lamet he replaced Charlie Morton, who was a big fat disappointment. By the way, I'm looking at Charlie Morton. I'm thinking like anybody that has him this year, they must not have owned him in 2020, and maybe even not. The guy's been a problem child for like a little while now. But either way, Lamet. I go
Charlie Morton's been a problem.
Charlie Morton's a problem child for your fantasy team. He's not healthy most of the time, and but he's a great pitcher when he is healthy. He's a great pitcher. Either way, I think I was maybe.
I mean, compared to the names that we've brought up this evening with Gausman, Lamet, and Stroman, I think that Morton's kind of the pitcher of health. You know?
Are you kidding me? Morton, you must not have had him on your team last year. Let me ask you a question. Did you have him in 2020 at all?
I did have him in 2020 in one league.
And you liked that league? Did you finish good in that league?
That was a league I actually finished. I had it was a playoff league, so I had the best record going in the playoffs. I got knocked out in the first round.
Okay. Charlie Morton was actually great for a playoff league because he was just coming back at the end of the season. They were like easing him into the playoff role, which was like crappy for anybody in fantasy, especially like in weekly leagues. You have Charlie Morton going and you're like, okay, you're hoping to get like 4 or 5 innings, but he's just building up his innings slowly to go to the playoffs. But okay, Lamet's interesting. He has not been healthy for a full season. He's been in the major league since 2019, but even 2017, he came up in 2017. I remember Craig called up our house. Lenny was already sleeping, and he's like, this kid on San Diego, he's coming up. Go grab him in all your fantasy leagues, and we did. And then he ended up getting Tommy John surgery or whatever. He's a crazy strikeout guy, though. He strikes out a ton of batters, and so that in itself is alluring for fantasy owners. However,
that's the reason why he'll be higher because the strikeout guys are much sexier.
He pitched as many innings in 2020 as he did in 2019, which says something about his 2019 and was nothing really. It was coming back from Tommy John, but the guy is a strikeout master. We don't know for sure if he is also giving up way too many home runs or walking too many batters because we haven't really like see those numbers. I remember last year saying like the guy gives up a lot of home runs. We're not really sure if he's going to be able to keep the ball in the park. He did great last year. I would have to give him some credit for 2020. Although, if you say, now I got to multiply that, he would be a perfect one that you can't multiply by 2.7 because the numbers just aren't even reasonable at that point.
Yeah. No, it is. I think that I'm going to be drafting players that have a longer track history. You know, I might sneak up. I drafted in both of the pre-drafts that I'd done. I drafted Mike Clevenger before he got injured. I thought he was a pretty good value at around pick 55 to be my first pitcher. And of course he's injured now. But the idea would be like to pick 1 or 2 that, and then just wait because there's going to be a lot of people are going to be jumping up, pushing guys up that are higher than they should be. And I'd rather, have a guy that I know what the outcome is going to be. I mean, like I could see myself drafting, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a name of a guy, just like the guy who just seems solidly middle of the road.
What about like Mike Moustakas? I'm looking at Mike Moustakas right now. I'm looking at him.
I don't know what happened to him last year. I was really high on him going in. I thought this would be a steal at second base, and he had a fairly pedestrian year.
He had a pretty crappy year. It's his first year in Cincinnati, since we're talking about Cincinnati anyways. But like the last 2 weeks of the season, he hit half of his homers. So the first, the season was only 2 months, literally. But the first month was horrible for him. He hit, I don't know, it's 2 months. It's August and September. So if I say the last 2 weeks, he hit half of his homers, which was 8 total. So he hit 4 home runs in the last 2 weeks. He's
one of those guys that has enough of a track record that I feel pretty confident that you're going to get what you want out of the guy. I think that he
Oh,
went. I think he went pretty high last year in ADP.
yeah,
The
let
most
me look
I
at
was
this.
at, he was like a fifth or sixth rounder, and I think last year's poor performance will probably make him a little bit better value.
For sure. I think so, but he's now 32 and the numbers just really did. I mean, his last full season was 2019. He hit 35 home runs and it felt like he was like right around the 30 home run range. Going into last season, I think let me look at where he was drafted.
I don't know whether it was just the leagues I was in, but it seems like the leagues I was in, there was always somebody that liked Mike Sostakis
He
because
was drafted. Yeah, right.
and he was always drafted about 2 rounds before. I was thinking like I would jump up and pick him in like the 10th round or 9th round, and he was like gone in the 6th.
He was drafted in 99 overall, right about 99 overall.
5th, 6th round.
He was drafted before guys like Tim Anderson. He was drafted. I have to say, I was totally wrong about Carlos Correa and Corey Seager too. I was wrong about both of those shortstops. So let's just get that out.
I was wrong about Tim Anderson. Apparently, he can do this for a number of years.
Okay, let's talk about. Was it Tim? Who was it that I wanted to talk about? Shoot, Benintendi. Okay, I was reading an article just tonight.
Alpha says that Moustakis was actually sick the first month.
Oh, he was sick the first month? Let me see. He was sick, like how sick? Sick with what?
I don't know. I think he missed games because of COVID. He did. I don't think he was sick.
He played in 44 games out of 60. 44.
So that's 2 weeks. That's one COVID stint.
One great thing about this guy, Moustakas, is that he played second base 32 times, first base 10 times. So he's still going to qualify at both second and third base. Or no, second and first base now. So middle and corner, which is great. And if he goes, I mean, if he loses ADP, that's great for me. I will draft him completely.
Yeah, I think you're going to find that a lot of that. I'm going through these drafts, and the first draft is like I keep thinking, wow, this guy's still here, this guy's there, and I keep saying that until like the 12th, 13th round. And like by the second draft, I had the realization that there's reason to like a lot of these guys, and you can discount almost anything. I think you really have to have sort of a plan where you sit there and go after round 6 or 7. You all right now? I'm actually filling for need, both positional and stat wise. I need to pick some stolen bases. I need to pick some more power. I need to get a batting average guy.
A batting average guy, okay.
As opposed to just picking the guys that, in the draft that we did, was it Jose Altuve? I drafted in the 12th round. I thought that was crazy.
So, yeah, the 12th round for Altuve is okay. It's okay, but still, I don't know, man. I'm hesitant to draft. I don't like the Houston Astros. I have a problem with what they did. I have a problem with what everybody did because I am not gonna. I mean, I'm not gonna be.
I'm off that. I told you that I was listening to that podcast about the Houston thing, and the truth is, these are two things that came to me, and it wasn't what they were trying to do. The guy that did that podcast was the guy that wrote a book, Astro Ball, about how great the Astro Ball thing is.
What the podcast? Yeah, the one that you were talking about that changed your mind.
These are the things. Like up to that point, nobody had ever been penalized in any way for stealing signs, and everybody pretty much was stealing signs. They talked about when AJ Hinch went to the Astros and got signed. He got this coach from Seattle, and the first thing the guy from Seattle said to him was, last year we had all your signs. And Major League Baseball was just stupid when it came to this, and this is how stupid they were. Somebody was going to do this. Now the trash can thing makes it seem silly, but Major League Baseball put those cameras in, right?
Yes, they were all doing it, dude. They were all doing it.
But this is the one. Major League Baseball has cameras outside of the dugouts that show these things that you're not supposed to look at during the regular season. Major League Baseball sent a man to every ballpark to police those TV sets. One person, knowing full well that there's a TV set on the visitor side and a TV set on the other side. If Major League Baseball cared, they would have sent 2 people. You know what I mean? Like they literally set up a system where we're going to walk away from this for a little while. And so, they were doing it. The other thing is they told them that it was legal for you to look at it and do whatever you want with it as long as it was not that game's data. So the Astros set up another system which was probably more important to them, which was a system that they called Codebreaker. One of their interns wrote a program
Yeah.
that watched all the previous games and set up a sheet to break down everybody's signals.
They were not the only ones doing that, and if they
And no, because that isn't illegal. That's the crazy part. Now, it might be illegal because it depends on there's two rules. There's two rules. One rule was you're allowed to look at old game tape, right?
Yeah.
And you can even use it for this. That was the rule.
Mm-hmm.
The other rule is you can't break signs using artificial means, right? So they actually were using artificial means. So under one interpretation, go ahead, do what you want with the data afterwards.
Yeah.
They were fine, and they're not the only ones doing it. And so I really think that
but
much like the steroid problem, where it worked to Major League Baseball's interest to sacrifice Barry Bonds, and to a lesser extent Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa.
Yeah.
Because it got the other 400 players who were using the drugs off the hook completely, and even like guys into the Hall of Fame. And right? They said we have a problem with people breaking these signals, and we need to act like we give a shit. And so they the Astros, and everybody started hating the Astros. When the truth is, the team that you love is doing this. The Chicago Cubs, my team, has been stealing signals since Babe Ruth.
Okay, there's two. For number one, everybody's stealing signs. It's legal, just like you said, it's legal. But when they start telling the players during the game, and
there's no point in stealing a sign if you don't tell players during the game. They're all doing that also.
They're not allowed to say when a pitcher is throwing pitches, they're not allowed to say like he's throwing a fastball right now. He's doing this. That's what they were doing. They were conveying this in game. Now, believe me, I don't know what in the world MLB is thinking when they put the instant replay guy in his own video room just by himself. Like, why don't they have one guy that does the video replay for both teams, and he's non-biased, or like as non-biased as you could be, and he sits in the media room with the rest of the media people? Why are they like in their own little room?
Well, I mean, as I said, it's a $10 billion industry, and they couldn't send two security guards to watch those things during a game.
They don't really want it to stop, to be honest.
They didn't want it to stop. It would have been very easy to go, had they called you up and said, "Hey, we're going to give you $40,000 to go make sure no one goes in this room," you would have done it.
Dude, I would have been so bored. I would have been in that room like constantly doing stuff.
You could go in that room, but you got to make sure that the wrong guys don't go in that room. But basically, they set up a system where, like every other inning, the guy would walk away to the other side of the dugout, to the other side of the park. Okay. So like now you can steal, now you can steal, now you can steal, now you can steal.
Okay.
So I actually don't think that. And I think that if people are going to discount the Astros, they were a really good team before they were stealing those signs. That sign thing that they were doing was something that came about in the middle of 2017. And it was a player. It was a player's. No, the sign thing with the banging of the cans.
Okay.
The other stuff was there before that. That was a very good team, and that was really what was the question asked. Like, why does a team that is this good
that is a question.
feel that they need to do the little extra? And they not to get super political, but Richard Nixon would have won his presidential election, but he felt he had to break in. What goes through a person's head? And the idea is you get so hyper competitive, and you feel that if I'm not doing this, I'm falling behind all the other guys that are doing this.
Okay, so what about maybe it's about the attitude that bothers
me. I mean,
it's about the way that like they didn't.
Well, no, to me, the Yankees got caught. The Red Sox caught following 2 years, and no one gives a crap about that. Right. And that shows that this is really just a sacrificial lamb.
So here's the thing: the guy that's in charge of baseball, the commissioner of baseball, he doesn't work for baseball. He works for the ownership, the owners of the teams, and his job is to push everything under the rug and have PR time. his job is to make baseball look decent, even though, and no matter what it takes, he's going to try to get rid of anything out of the limelight that's bothersome. Like, remember that letter they were subpoenaing? They wanted that letter from Girardi about the whatever it was. They wanted it uncovered, and it wasn't even about. It was brought up in a different case about the Houston Astros versus fantasy sports players. But so anyway, what happened to that? That's just history. Nobody talks about it. They don't want to talk about it.
I think that baseball got what they wanted. They got everybody mad at Houston. So that they ignore the other 20, and maybe there's 3 or 4 teams that are clean and they're in last place or whatever.
Oh, please.
But
to get the camera off the fact that Rob Manfred had known about this shit for years and didn't bother doing anything about it. They could have fixed it.
It wasn't just Manfred. No commissioner in the history of baseball ever did anything about it. You would get a letter saying stop doing that. That was the worst penalty anyone had before this. And what they got was pretty severe.
Never been, though. This is just
if you throw in there that the truth is the most severe penalties went to like Cora and Beltran.
Really?
They lost their jobs, but those weren't
for 60 games. Big fucking deal. Okay.
Well, but they weren't actually named in the thing. The penalties that they gave.
Alex Cora was named as one of the ringleaders of the Houston.
No, he wasn't penalized by the Major League Baseball. He was penalized by the team, the Boston Red Sox.
No, he was penalized. They told him he couldn't.
60 days.
Whatever
it was. But the two guys, Jeff Lunau, who everyone testified he didn't know anything about that particular thing because he was worried about Codebreaker, and the other guy had no idea about it, but he was the guy that. No, his name was God. He had a real Jewish name. He was the guy that he got named in the thing as being suspended for a year because he was the guy that yelled at that female reporter about how much he loved, which had nothing to do.
No, it's a completely different situation.
Yeah, but it was in that same judgment. It's like so it's what they did was they created a judgment that looked really like fierce, and the truth is it was the wrong people. The people who did that were Beltran, Altuve, the players. That was the players thing.
Listen, Cora was right in there, dude. Let me say something. And this
that's right. Cora was the one guy.
The one guy that doesn't have a job right now. The one guy that isn't even asked back to come to baseball, which is Tim Lunau, who actually completely denies knowing anything about it at all.
In the testimonies from the players, they said that they kept it away from him. It was mentioned one time to him, which he admitted to knowing about that one time, and he thought he had stopped it.
He didn't even know about it. It was in an email. Apparently something about it was in an email that got sent to him, and he said that he was going through 50 emails at one time and responding to all of them just to respond and said, "Great job, guys," or something. It was a long email. Yeah. Whatever it was, he was totally just. But AJ Hinch knew about it because he actually destroyed the video thing in the dugout
Hinch was guilty. He was guilty, but it was below the thing.
But he hated it. He did not like it. It was totally not really AJ Hinch doing it. But Hinch and Cora both have jobs. Immediately after the season ended, they were like, "Okay, we're going to get people back."
Because the teams that hired him know that their guys were doing the same. They just got caught, and they only got caught. They only got caught because something that never happened before happened.
What do you mean they only got caught because of that?
Well, I mean, tell me another instance where a baseball player ratted out anybody. There's a bond between those guys.
Trevor Bauer ratted out Houston before they were banging on.
He didn't know anything about Houston. He's ratting out Houston from outside.
They knew that.
But his testimony would be hearsay at best. It's I think they're doing this because of this. Whereas they had Mike Fears broke the barrier and said, "Hey, these guys did this," and it didn't happen. It didn't happen with the drug stuff. It didn't happen with any of the other stuff.
Baseball just wants to hide shit. They do not want it to be a big ordeal. They just want to blow it away.
Okay. Yeah, and the truth is, by 2021, it'll be over.
Okay, let's talk about next season. Oh, is that Dan? I think I just heard something. Maybe Dan's here. Let me check it out. I gotta find. Dan is there. What's up, Dan?
Yeah.
Finally. How are you, dude?
I can't hear anything. It's really choppy.
You can't hear anything? You better fix your shit then.
Well, that was Dan.
Hey, Dan. Bye, Dan.
I can't hear anything. It's just I hear choppiness. Hold on.
Yes. Call back or something. Fix your. But you can. Douglas can hear. We've been talking for an hour.
I mean, it sounds like it sounds like I'm on a system, but
Okay,
There we
here's
go.
sounds like we're having
There we
a
go.
1979 phone call.
somebody
There
asked
we go.
me to sign
Now
my
I can hear.
Dan. Look at my hat. Look at my
Now I
hat.
can hear. Hold on. Let me figure out to get back to where I'm at. What are you wearing? A Giants hat? There
Yes,
go.
for
Nice.
you. I wore it for you. Guess who
Nice.
signed it?
Who?
Guess who signed it? Hunter Pence.
There you go. I love that guy.
Yes, he's nice. I told him I drafted him on my fantasy team, and he said, "What round did you draft me?" And I lied. I told him round 2, but I really drafted him in round 5.
I'm wearing my Giants shirt right now.
I knew you would be. That's why I put you. That's why I wore this. I said, "Dan's coming."
I had my Cubs hat on for a little while.
Okay, we're talking about next year. I just got the baseball forecaster, dude, and and just really excited about reading it. But it talks about the different difficulties that we're going to have next year, drafting based on the fact that whatever you put into this season's numbers and stuff. But you're here now, and we're going to talk about the Redskins tonight. And I did do a little bit of research because I'm not a football guy,
Oh
but
my god.
you are a big fan of the Washington. I don't know what
Football
the name was.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
everyone keeps correcting me every time I call them the Redskins, but I don't
And they
even
still
care.
go by that. What's their name
It's
now?
the
They're the
Washington
football
football team. It's really ridiculous.
Washington.
I think it's fun to say the football team won.
Hold on a minute. Their name is the football team.
That's it.
You're
Yeah,
fucking kidding me.
I'm
They've
not
had
joking.
years to come up with a fucking name. Are you joking me? It's
So there's a bunch of licensing rights right now, and apparently this guy who lives in Arlington, Virginia, right outside of Washington D.C.,
Yeah.
he copyrighted all the names, and then he tried to sell them back to the team. So it caused like this whole controversy.
But wasn't I mean I was understanding that because of the offensiveness of the Redskins name lost its copyright like 6 years ago. So like anybody,
It did. Don't you remember the South Park episode
Yeah,
where
that's what I
they
said,
came
like,
out and were like, "We're the
so
Washington
they're-
Redskins. Go fuck yourself."
Yeah.
I love
And it would be the Redskins.
So I'm going to tell you this: that this whole name change thing has been something that's been the PC Warriors have been after for years, and I guess Dan Snyder has really, really rubbed the minority ownership the wrong way. And the minority ownership is the owner of FedEx. They're the minority stake in the team, him and a couple other rich millionaire guys, billionaires, whatever they are.
Mhm.
And they essentially pressured him this offseason because of all the bad PR that came out in regards to, I'm sure you guys may or may not have heard of it.
The cheerleaders acting as
Yeah, exactly. They're acting as prostitutes and all the freaking, sexual harassment stuff that happened in the front
that part of
office.
football I know because it's news.
And so they essentially did that to kind of, I think, this isn't what they're saying, but in my opinion, it was to kind of misdirection to kind of take away from all the negative.
Yeah, do one thing that the world's been clamoring for to kind of
Yep. So that's why they were
change the conversation a little bit.
That's why they were kind of unprepared for it, and you've kind of seen that in this, the Washington football team approach because they didn't have a backup name in place. It wasn't something that was long planned. It was literally spur of the moment. Hey, we're going to do this.
No,
By the way.
they've been telling them that they have to change the name for like 5 years.
They didn't tell,
I mean,
but yeah, and Dan Snyder's response has been, "Go fuck yourself. I'm never going to change the name of the team." You can go see it. He's been quoted on saying, "I'll never change the name." And literally, all this stuff happened this offseason. He was like, "Yeah, we got no choice."
No, I totally agree. He was like, no.
He could change the name back to the Bullets. That's still available, right?
Okay, how many people are really fucking? People need to quit getting offended all the time. That's all I have.
No, that name is pretty offensive. Like the Indians. I mean, literally, it's. I mean, like what
it's
was
equivalent to the N word?
Yeah, what would the Chris Rock joke? It'd be like the New York N words. That's
equivalent.
What about?
You can make an argument. You can make an argument about Braves and Indians and stuff because those are just words. But
Redskin is an actual slang term. Yeah, it's a derogatory term. But
whatever.
The thing is I know tons of Native American folks, especially where I live in Oregon. There's a whole lot of them, and they all love Redskins. Man, that's their thing. They're like, that's our mascot.
They're proud of that. Totally
proud of it. Yeah.
Look, I don't know a lot about the Redskins, but I know a lot about Chief Wahoo in Cleveland, and I will tell you
that sucks.
I love Chief Wahoo, and I will always love him. And maybe I'm just totally ignorant, but nobody's offended by Chief Wahoo that I've ever met in my life. Nobody. But okay, let's move on because I don't want to fight about that stuff, but I think that when you have a logo mascot, when you have a mascot of a team and you're rooting for that team, it's hardly like derogatory. You really like the team and you like the mascot.
Can I tell you the number one worst part about all this? I wasn't really, either way. I'm not, not one of those people. It's like I'm not going to watch the team because they changed their names or vice versa, right? But the one thing I do really miss is the "Hail to the Redskins" fight song, which is something that I've been a fan of the team since I was a kid. And after every single touchdown celebration, we sing "Hail to the Redskins." It's a fucking fight
Yeah.
song. And it's been our hashtag on Twitter, HTTR, forever. And they took all that away. And we don't have the fight song, and that's like the one thing where I have a little bit of beef with
In
it. So.
Atlanta, they had the Brave song. They had a Brave song that was really good. They did it every game, just like that. I can't remember what it's called, but it was just exactly like what he was talking about.
What, the tomahawk chop?
Yes,
Yeah,
the tomahawk.
they stole that
Still
from
did
the
that shit in the
Seminoles.
playoffs this year.
They're
didn't
not
they?
allowed. Well, they're not supposed to do it.
Really?
They're not supposed to.
It really wasn't their thing. They stole that from college football.
From FSU. Yeah.
FSU.
I don't care where they stole it. I don't care.
When Deion Sanders came over.
Yeah. Well,
You know?
so another thing about the rights and stuff, which is interesting that I guess it's funny, the story, because with Chief Wahoo, the Cleveland Indians said they're not going to sell the stuff at the games. They're not going to sell Chief Wahoo like that, but you could still buy it. And they refused to give up the copyright for it. So nobody else can make any money off Chief Wahoo, but it's like they're still making money off it, but they're pretending like they care about social justice. But in reality, they're really not getting rid of Chief Wahoo. They just want to look like they are, which is fucking worse than anything you could do.
I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where you can make an argument on these sort of in between points, but the Redskins are a different story. That's all.
Whatever it is, now they're called the Team. Okay, so good for them. Now, I love the fact that some dude bought all the names, and I just think that's great. And the fact that he
gotta be some name out there. I mean, can't they duplicate at some level?
So
like,
here's the deal. The
leader
in the fans clubhouse, all the fans want him to change the name to the Red Wolves. That's like the big fan favorite when they did all the offseason polling, and everyone wants to be the Red Wolves.
okay.
Washington Red Wolves. Yeah, I think it would work. It would allow us to keep our fight song. It would just allow for a lot of things.
Well, as long as you have a 2-syllable name, and Red probably should be there.
For sure. Yes, it does keep it so that you can keep the same fight songs and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a big thing for the fans. And, that's tradition. That team's been, we won 3 Super Bowls. You know what I mean? Like, we're not.
So
like
what did they do today? What's going on today? What did they do?
Beat the shit out of Dallas. It was so great. Now, a lot of folks don't understand this, but the NFC East is trash right now. And at 4-7, we're in first place in the division. It's horrible.
I did read something that said that puts them right in the mix for the playoffs.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
And then
in the mix for the first draft pick.
Wait
it's
a minute.
Crazy.
It was Dallas and Houston both play on Thanksgiving. Is that how it always is? Dallas and Houston?
Detroit.
Historically.
Detroit always plays. And Dallas. Detroit and Dallas.
Tonight was supposed to be Steelers and Baltimore, but they canceled that game and moved it to Sunday because of COVID. And then they announced today that Lamar Jackson is on the COVID list and is not even going to play Sunday.
Why in football COVID only lasts a couple days? I don't know.
Anyway. I know that I followed college football a lot closer, and Nick Saban got COVID, I think it was, this week, and they actually they do the opposite thing in football is they keep testing you until you pass because there's a 30% false rate on it, so you'll eventually get a passing grade.
What the hell ever, dude? Please, whatever. Okay.
When Les Miles of LSU, not Les Miles, who's the guy that's coached there? He got COVID. He said that he's pretty sure the entire team has it, but that's not on the reports.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about next year. Let's talk about drafting. Let's just talk a couple things about some drafting strategies that you have for next year. So far, we probably don't have enough information yet, even though we do know a few things. We know that the season was extra short. Some people aren't even going to use any 2020 stats to decide 2021 stats. Some people, like in this baseball forecaster, Ron Chandler prorated the season, and he's saying 2.7 times whatever they did. That's what we're going to go by. I do know that DVR, Derek Van Riper, came out with his projections for next year, his rankings, and he actually has on his a set of stats for both 2019 and 2020 combined, and also the stats from 2020. So he's showing both last year and then a mix of last year and the year before to make his projections. And I guess there's some truth to that. I'm really of the belief that it's probably best to take what we have last year and multiply it by 2.7 or somewhere around that. I mean, Douglas was mentioning that some of the stats would be just out of realistic
Yeah,
realm.
you can't prorate stats. If you did that, you could look
the
at
way
all. Go ahead, Doug.
Well,
I
what
was-
do you do with last year's stats?
I'm going to look at it is I'm going to look at it like anybody that I would have looked at in 2016 who had a great August 15th on or something like that. I'm going to give that some weight. It's not going to push him to the first round. It's not going to make him a great player, but I'm not going to ignore positive stuff, and I'm not going to completely ignore negative stuff either. So I'll give more of a pass on the negatives because I think there's a lot of psychological problems with playing this year. You know,
No, I agree. I will give a lot more passes on the negative, and I will give a lot more passes.
but if somebody showed me something like I'm high on Teoscar Hernandez, he showed me something in 60 days, actually in 41 days or whatever it was, especially with things that are a lot more normalizable, like exit velocity, where I think that there's a really good chance that this guy could be a 10 plus stolen base guy plus 30 plus home run guy, and I'm going to draft him. You know, I think I said like he could be Bryce Harper. You know, he could be less than that, but he could be Bryce Harper.
Maybe we'll see. I definitely like what he did in the short season. I like that whole Toronto team in general. But MLB's got so far to go at this point to even. I mean, they haven't even discussed if they're even going to have the DH next year or not. I mean, there's just so many things that are up in the air at this point.
They said they weren't going to have it.
They 100% said that.
No, it's not 100% because everything is negotiable.
Exactly.
You know, but they actually did come out and say that the DH is gone for next year.
You know, I, as much as I thought I wasn't going to like it, I kind of like it.
You can't hear me, but nobody tells me. You guys can't even hear me, but nobody even says anything. They're like, just let her.
I thought you put it on mute on purpose. I saw the mute thing there, but even so, well,
whatever I said, I don't even remember what I said. I just know that I put my camera up to smoke some weed, and it didn't work. I should have just either not smoked weed or just left the camera. So anyway, I was on mute. It doesn't even matter what I was saying because I don't even remember what it was.
We were talking about DH.
Oh, they're using it as a tool, is what I was saying. They're using it as a tool to negotiate the new agreement.
Whatever that might be. I personally watched it. It didn't make me like mad. It didn't really add anything to the game.
They didn't say that there isn't going to be a DH, though. They didn't say that.
No, they said that was when the season ended. About a week and a half later, they said that was gone.
It's not guaranteed that it can come back for sure.
Yeah.
What about the other rules that we don't even know if they're going to come back?
Basically, all of the rules, unless they change something, aren't going to come back, except for the three inning thing. I think that's something. The ones that there are a couple that they can do on their own, like the pitch clock they can do on their own. The 3 inning rule they can do on their own.
That was already started too. That was like in the works on the heading into the season. So the 3 batter rule with the pitchers, do you think that it changed statistics? I mean, in a full season, but I do know one thing before you answer the question. Jason Stark wrote an article at The Athletic about this situation, and he talked to several different managers. There's actually one manager in baseball that likes the 3 batter rule, and from what I gathered in the article, it was like only one. But the rest of them, I'm going to have you guys guess the manager. That's why I didn't say his name. Tony La Russa.
I figure if it's awful, he'll be the guy, right?
For real, Douglas, this poor guy.
I'll guess Don Mattingly.
It was the Brewers manager. He was fine.
Really?
The rest of the managers hated it because they felt really a lot like they knew they were able to plan out their bullpen. Like they were able to plan better when they knew that they could take out a pitcher and put in a pitcher. And some pitchers, they weren't as good with this 3 batter rule because they're the type of pitcher that you don't want to leave stuck in there when they're fucking crapping out. You want to be able to take them out.
That is the only. I never saw that happen. I actually watched. Like I said, I watched mostly Cubs games. I watched looking for situations like that, and I thought to myself, I can't really do this because really what I'm seeing, the effect of this, what I'm seeing is there's a lefty reliever who's coming in the 6th inning who's pitching to 3 batters instead of 1. And more often than not, the extra batters, they got out because even the best hitters make 7 out of 10 outs, right? And so I don't know if it really changed much that way other than it took away that weird Mark Shipsinski role where you pitch, or who's the guy with the weird Bastardo? Antonio.
You have to pick the guy with the hardest name to say in all of baseball, right?
That's the guy to remember. Bastardo is easy to remember. Yeah, Shipsinski. But he made a 14-year career out of pitching the lefties. Like I think that he's the poster boy for being a loogie. I think Shipsinski means loogie in Polish.
Okay, listen. They they did say, I think in the article, that some pitchers lost innings. They weren't given the opportunity as much. So it really made the starting pitcher or the relief guy that can actually throw to both lefties and righties, and he's not like just a one type of pitcher guy, one type of batter type of guy. He's more valuable and he could be used in multiple innings. But once again, I don't think that I saw the opener play more of a role again, which would take away innings from pitchers. And I wonder, Lenny thinks that there are going to be 6-man rotations because of the fact that the 60-inning season didn't even give the pitchers enough time to get stretched out. So you talk about Verducci effect and how if a pitcher increases their innings by a certain amount, between 1 year,
usually 75 innings or more,
or like even 50. I think it's a lot. It's not that much, but I'm not trying to. I'm like going over like 15 topics in one sentence. But the Verducci thing. Do you think that you're going to see the 6-man rotation across baseball, and does it affect the number of innings pitched per start? They were saying going into this season that they were going to be cut down on the innings per start, and like they didn't get enough chance to warm up, so they're only going to pitch like 4 innings. And I'm thinking, I didn't really agree with that, because I think when a pitcher is pitching good, you will leave him in. You should leave him in.
Agreed.
But
we saw that with Blake Snell in the World Series this year.
But they're pussies, most of the pitchers. They can't hang anymore.
Did you hear your boy Trevor Bauer was talking about how he wants to play on a team that pitches on 4-man rotation?
He wants every yes.
I fucking love that guy.
I do too. He's way ahead of his time. Or it's
4-man rotation was really big in the 50s, so he's behind his time.
Right. He might be behind, or it's just the trends that we're seeing. We're teaching the young pitchers to be weaklings. They do not.
We're okay teaching the young pitchers not to bat, so why not be weaklings?
Well, what we're teaching these young pitchers is to air it out as opposed to pitch it, 85%, like Greg Maddox's of the day would do, to make sure they pitch 8-9 innings.
Okay, but we're talking about Greg Matt. Think about it. If you just go out there and you are allowed to throw 9 innings if you're pitching well, wouldn't that be nice? But they're concerned about Tommy John surgery. I say
it's analytics. All it is analytics at this point. If you look at analytics, you can look at the numbers and go third time through the order. Yes. These guys are going from giving up, a 280 batting average to like a 350. Exactly. And they're looking at the guys that are throwing 97 in the bullpen, and they're giving up a 180 average. So it doesn't make sense. It's all analytics.
Third time.
Yes. I read an article a few years back, probably 8 or 10 years ago, where they talked about Sandy Koufax, and the idea was that if they had treated Sandy Koufax the way that they treat pitchers today, you might have got a 15-year career out of the guy, and it wouldn't have been that much different. And what's better?
What did he have? 11 years, something like that.
Sandy Koufax. Let's see how many innings.
I want to say he didn't have very many.
I thought it was 10.
Yeah, it's like 10 or 11.
Let's just look and see.
But the whole thing is they used to let people pitch their ground, and like we know Sandy Koufax because he's so good. But for every Sandy Koufax that there was another 65 pitchers in a course of a decade who were knocked out after 2 years because of blowing out their arm. Under the old way. I think that it actually does protect the pitchers to some extent.
No, it doesn't. Not in my opinion, because
the only guy, the exceptions would be the guys that were able to pitch at a high level in the major league after the age of 40, even though no one thinks they took drugs, like Nolan Ryan.
Well, how about just Nolan
Johnson?
Yes, what? 2 great examples. Those are
Randy Johnson was one who pitched.
Anybody
I don't think Randy was on drugs though.
Anybody over 40, that is just either he's a unicorn or he was on drugs.
There's no drug that like makes your career longer. There's just no drug like
yes,
that.
There is.
The whole point.
There is.
The whole point of corticosteroids is to heal.
Hold on, Robinson.
If they heal, that's the whole point. Is to heal.
Excuse me. No, it is not. It does not make your career more years.
You are crazy if you think.
No, please let me explain.
How come we've lost all those 40-year-old pitchers since we've been cracking down on steroids more?
You really think steroids continues to make a person's career longer than it is supposed to be?
Yeah,
Look at Barry Bonds. Look at Rafael
Not
Palmeiro.
no.
I mean,
Long
look at all these
term,
guys. The list goes on and on and on.
steroids can help an
Look
older
at Nelson
player.
Cruz.
That's what we're saying. Helping an old person. There's nobody when they trot out a 40-year-old whatever Bartolo Colon, and he's a pretty good pitcher for a 42-year-old, but he's nowhere near what he was when he was 31. When they trotted out Nolan Ryan at 45 or Roger Clemens at 45, he was a better pitcher than he was when he was 19.
Yeah, Rocket was ridiculous in his old age.
Yeah.
That was crazy how good he was.
Okay.
I mean, what was that one season? He was like freaking 15-1 or some shit like that when he won the Cy Young. And he was like 41.
Like it's one thing to maintain. Like we see in football, Tom Brady seems to maintain at an old age.
I wouldn't be surprised to find out
to get magically better. Yeah, the truth is, that's the thing. Is like because it is such an anomaly, you have to consider the fact that it might be something that's beyond the sport, beyond normal. Because as great as as great as Peyton Manning was, as great as Dan Marino was, they hit a game where the cliff just fell, and that came at age 38, 39.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm feeling it now at 41. I'm falling apart trying to play freaking slow pitch softball. And if I could have some steroids or something to help my body heal and not feel the way I feel, it'd be a lot better.
No. I do not think that these pitchers like Nolan Ryan and Randy Johnson were on steroids.
I never said that Randy Johnson was.
No, I did.
Let's talk about the innings pitch. We could talk about
substantially. That's why I think substantially.
Greg Maddux, 5,000 innings. Randy Johnson, 4,000. Nolan Ryan, 5,000. Okay,
yeah,
Roger
Greg Maddux, 5,000 innings. That's awesome. That guy was like champion.
Greg Maddux is like the one guy that I don't really think took drugs.
Here's what I don't understand. I don't understand why the trend went in the opposite direction. We tried to make every pitcher Randy Johnson as opposed to Greg Maddux, and I don't understand why.
Phil Niekro, the most.
Well, it comes from like
Phil Niekro was a knuckleballer though.
Okay.
Yeah, the knuckleballers are in a different category. Like, Charlie Huff could pitch till he was 45.
I don't think that steroids gives you more years of health. If you're taking steroids from the time that you enter baseball, maybe if you start taking it later in your career, like when you're 40 or 35.
Your body just doesn't break down.
Yeah, no, whatever breaks down heals quickly.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's not horseshit. That's why all these old guys were doing it. That's why when you saw in the late 90s, listen to what I'm saying. In the late 90s, we had a surge of guys' careers in their late 30s like we had never seen in the history of baseball or any sport for that matter.
The crazy thing was they didn't just maintain; they got better.
Yes, look at the numbers at that during the steroid generation.
You're not listening. You guys don't listen to me. What I'm trying to say is that yes, they started doing steroids late in their career, but they didn't start out at like early 20s doing steroids for the next 15 years, and that's what kept them in the game. That's just what I believe.
No, they had to have a certain base level of talent to be a Major League Baseball player. Yeah.
Plus, they started out their careers not on steroids. Do you agree with that? Do you think that these guys lasted this long on steroids?
Sure, most probably.
I'm 51 years old, and I played football straight through college, 4 years of college, right? And I saw a lot of steroids. And I don't think that the baseball team was guilt-free on this, But
the steroids weren't really that. Maybe they took.
No, it was different stuff in the early. It was like andro and those kind of things.
Okay. Anyway,
which were made illegal, but there were whatever. Some form of enhancement was always there.
I
regret not taking them.
I think that you do. You regret not taking it. Why do you regret not taking it?
In retrospect, I think in terms of considering the amount of drugs I did in high school, it would have been much better had I done something that maybe would have given me a career.
I don't know why they don't just make it legal because.
Okay, and here's the thing you need to understand about steroids, Andrea. When you do them for a period of time, when you bulk up, that bulk does not go away, especially if you continue to work out.
You get bigger. I think of Melky Cabrera.
But your body is not healthy.
1 year he had 326.
It doesn't matter.
Royals got pegged for steroids that year.
It matters.
He
had 5 good years after that, and he was never that good going into that year.
No, Melky was that year he played in San Francisco when he made the All-Star team. Oh God, Nelly Cruz, he popped late in his career, and the effects have not gone away.
He got in trouble too. He was suspended before he went to Seattle, but he's been hitting good.
And then he's turned his career around since.
Yeah, no, because of that. Since that point in time, he's made like $80 million.
Here's the argument I'm going to make for you, Andrew. These hitters at an advanced age have a understanding of the strike zone you just don't have as a young player. Okay,
Yes,
and when your body can perform like a 20-year-old when you're 40,
yes,
you were unstoppable.
totally agree with you. That's absolutely true. I mean, for sure, the steroids helps you heal faster, and it's amazing. I mean, they actually give steroids to all kinds of different for reasons.
But that's really all old age is it's the breaking down of the body. If you can
Right.
heal that stuff faster, you're going to play longer into things.
Why? I just think everybody should be able to take whatever they want and play baseball. That's it. Then
I agree.
just fucking, if it helps you out, then you should take it. If you're willing to deal with the pros and cons of what it's going to do to your body, that's a great freedom to have. So why they spend so much money on these tests too? Can you even imagine trying to always stay ahead of the next
Some guys do it.
way to beat the test? Because you got
As I one of my famous sayings from my show is, no Yankee in pinstripe ever got popped for a drug.
what about the fact that is that true?
He never failed
Really?
a test. Never failed a test. No Yankee has ever failed a test. Now people have gotten popped, like Cervelli got popped, A-Rod got popped, but they got popped by them diving into a doctor's medical records. But they never failed a test, and they must have been taking them. Robert Cano never got popped for it while he was on the team, but he's now twice since.
I wonder how,
because once you leave the Yankees, you think, no, I should start doing drugs. You know?
well, I would say that it's reasonable to think that a person getting older, and Cano has still this, at least he wanted to play good through the end of his contract. That's how I feel. Like
But the first time he was popped, he was 32, right?
it was just a couple
Cano
years
would
ago.
have made the Hall of Fame if he had not got popped.
It was after he left the Yankees.
He was on the fast track.
It was like his second year in Seattle. He got hit.
Yeah.
First time.
So no Yankees ever been busted. Why do they spend so much money trying to and weed is legal in half the fucking states now. So
I think that the fact that Lincecum got caught with weed
weed
ruined
is
it.
not going to make you better pitcher. Maybe it does. Whatever it is, you should.
I think that Lincecum, when he was taking marijuana, he was one of the best pitchers we've ever seen. He got caught with marijuana in an airport, got put on the testing program. Now he couldn't take it. All of a sudden, his head wasn't the same. He couldn't relax.
Is that what happened to Lincecum? I never fucking could figure out.
Lincecum got, because had he failed a test, he would have been suspended for a year, and he didn't risk it, so he never had his mind in the game as well as it was before. Because
Is that really what I remember him getting busted, and I remember him completely just being great and not
that's
good.
part of it, but the main factor was his stuff.
He just couldn't let the velocity go, right? If the velocity is going,
You need at least 8 to 10 mile an hour difference between your off speed and your fastball. And his fastball got all the way down to 89 miles an hour, and they couldn't. Hitters were just sitting on it.
well, you need either
you couldn't
that or
differentiate.
movement.
he was nowhere near the Cy Young pitcher he was years before it dropped that low. He was still throwing in the mid high 90s, and he was getting.
That's not true.
He was really good, and then
he lost his stuff in fucking late 2010 during the World Series, right before the World Series run. If you look at his,
I don't know, man.
August, go look at his August and September numbers that year. They won the World Series. They were not good, and he bounced back for the postseason. He was good in 2011 part of the season, and by 2012, dude, he was not the same pitcher.
Well, what about the fact that you said that he needs to get this big difference between his fastball and his off-speed pitches? But
that's because he used to throw up in the zone. Okay,
he
throw
had
everything up in the zone, and then he would drop the curve from the same point, so it would go up and drop at the same. It would just drop down, and hitters were just full. And so when they would sit on that pitch, they'd be able to see it coming in. Before it was coming at 95, 94, and then he could throw that off-speed drop, and he would throw it in the same exact spot up in the zone. And hitters were just teeing off on him towards the latter part of his career. It was bad. I watched Lincecum all the way through. I
don't know, though. I mean, I think Lincecum was great. I really liked the guy a lot.
He was one of my favorhad players for a while. Two Cy Youngs. I was at his first ever start, dude. I was on that guy from the day one in the minor leagues, dude. He was so nasty. He had like a 30% K rate coming to the minors and was just unstoppable.
Does he still live in San Francisco, or
no? He's from Seattle.
Yeah.
Where is he though? Is he up in Seattle?
I would assume he's back in Seattle. Yeah.
Somewhere, probably outside of Seattle. But yeah.
I love it. He's a
There,
story.
there, there, it's been 20 minutes, but there was a question. Do you have that stuff, Chandler? Melpel was wondering what
Yeah.
it said. What do they expect from Yelich this year? Because he's
Oh,
a
let's
real
check it out.
question.
Ooh,
Not
let's
much.
check it out. How fun. Okay, I'm gonna search for
It's
you.
gonna be interesting to see what Yelich does this year.
He's one of those guys where I think there's going to be a lot of value in him because he's going to drop to like the 12th or 13th
Oh,
pick.
if he does, I'm all over him.
I will not trust Yelich. No,
No, why?
I don't trust it.
Because he hit 189 in a shortened season last year, where
I don't know
there was COVID.
I don't give a fuck. COVID should not make you a great.
After back-to-back years of hitting over 330 pretty
No,
much.
no. Yelich had one. No, Yelich. Well, he's a good hitter, but I don't trust that he's not hurt.
MVP award.
I don't care about that though, because last year
I mean, in the draft, you have you have the Trout, Acuna, Betts grouping at the very top, but once you get past that, once you get to like 10,
Dude,
you're looking at
put Juan Soto in that top grouping. He is the
Also,
next.
Like,
He was so good. Like
Hold
he
on.
went 346 this year, some shit like that.
It's the thing like how much does this year count?
Doesn't matter what he did in the playoffs and what I see from him. That dude is a superstar.
But are you afraid that he's hurt? What about his hurt problem? He's hurt.
Soto?
Soto doesn't
Yelich.
run.
I'm still talking about Yelich. Sorry.
It's okay.
The one that keeps Soto in my mind out of that top tier is that if I'm drafting Soto, I'm not expecting 10 stolen bases.
I like Soto. Why not?
He hits for such a high average. I think he can do that consistently.
Oh yeah,
he hits for such pop.
If he could hit 320, 330, that would make up for not stealing.
And if the Nationals can put it, there's been rumors that they're trying to get Arenado. I don't know that to be true. Arenado is going to move somewhere this year, which is going to be interesting. But the other place I've heard him rumored is to go to the LA, which would just be stupid.
Why stupid? I think it's stupid to
do them. That lineup, they're just like the West Coast Yankees at this point.
Oh, you'd be just annoyed that they would be that much better.
They're in my division. It would just be stupid.
No, they are the West Coast Yankees already.
Here's what we got for Yelich. Here we go. It says that he never really recovered from 1 for 27 and a 56% contact rate at the start of the season. So he even seemed to alter his approach. 13.4% swinging strike rate was the lowest of his career. Okay, but perhaps it was lingering effects of the 2019 broken kneecap. His stolen bases were down. Good news is that his walk and his exit velocity and his home run to fly ball rate all held strong. The odds of a rebound are good. Just don't pay 2018-19 prices.
So he could be a value in the second round if he falls.
But even getting him in late first round, he's a guy that you could pick with the 11th, 10th pick who could theoretically give you third pick value. And when you're talking sitting here at the very top, moving up 6 rungs in the first round.
For help.
I don't know that I'm letting Yelich slide out of my top 5, you guys. I really don't. I just really don't. I mean, who else are you putting in there? Trey Turner?
I don't know. You believed in Jose Ramirez, so I should give you some
credit
for
that. Is Garrett Cole going to be up there?
I would take Jose Ramirez ahead of Yelich, but there's not a lot.
I can't say that I would.
I would take all the pitchers.
No.
I would take none of the pitchers ahead of him.
Dan, you totally changed your mind on Jose Ramirez.
I love Jose Ramirez. I just don't think I'd take him over Yelich.
I think that
just because of the fact that he may lose Lindor this offseason.
I don't think it makes a difference because I'm not.
I do.
I really don't. He's still going to hit some home runs. He's still going to steal 20 plus.
He's still going to hit his homers. He's still going to steal his bases.
And that's the thing that puts it in a spot. There's a chance that Yelich was at that point where he's slowing down because of the kneecap injury. Maybe that's what he doesn't worry about.
How old is Yelich? What is Yelich? 29. He's not slowing down.
Hold on a minute. He could with his kneecap, and I'm not kidding around when you were talking about the stolen bases.
Plenty of guys have come back from kneecap injuries.
No, I'm splitting hairs at some level where I'm saying like I love him in the 10th pick, but I don't like him at the 4th pick. I
don't see the difference. Who are you taking in that middle ground? Are you taking Freddie Freeman in your first round this year? Like who is Jose Abreu in your first round this year?
First round, but he's behind these guys.
What about Jose Abreu? Like who
No. So Abreu's like a 5th round pick to me, 4th round.
You really think that after winning the MVP last year,
you'll never get him?
Yeah. And in that
I won't get him. And he's one of those guys where it's like I can still like the guy. he's going to give what he'll be a top 100 player somewhere in the middle of that.
No.
And whoever buys him in the second round is going to be losing value with that.
You think Jose Abreu? I question that.
He's been let's talk about consistency. This is the man of consistency to the
Mr. 100 RBIs.
To the highest level. There's no
now he's playing
before this year.
Think about it like this, dude. He's gonna play in the Pujols role.
Before this year, the highest he finished was like in the 40s, I think.
He's been underrated this whole time. That's why.
No, I'm talking about his finish, his actual numbers.
He's been on a team with nobody. Now he's got a fucking superstar team around him, you guys.
What do you mean his finish? Because he had a great.
He had a great year last year, but he was. And the truth is, when I say a guy is the 45th best player in baseball, that's a pretty good year.
He didn't crack 100 RBIs one time in the past 5 years. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's done it 5 years, and he didn't crack 100 RBIs one time. And his team sucks so bad. But now his team's
I think if he goes in the, I can understand somebody picking him in the third round, but before that, no, I would consider that.
You're going to take him over Giancarlo Stanton, aren't you?
Fuck yes, dude. What?
That's close, but yeah, I probably would, only because of the injury thing. If you could guarantee 100 games of Giancarlo Stanton, I would take him ahead of Abreu. You can't do it.
You know how many home runs Stanton's hit since he came over to the Yankees? Let me tell you. Let me just.
Because he hasn't played. That's the only reason it goes down.
The motherfucker.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I said it's close, but I probably think Abreu just because of the injury.
Since he became a Yankee, dude. He literally, since he became a Yankee, he's hit like 6.
It's hard to believe that the Marlins getting John Castro got the better end of that deal.
I love that the Yankees got Stanton. I love that the Yankees got Johnny Damon right at the end. They tried to steal him from the Red Sox, but he sucked already anyways, and the Red Sox knew it, so they didn't care. Johnny Damon's a loser. Ellsbury. No, it was Ellsbury. That's the one.
Ellsbury had that one weird year.
He was great until he
was a great stolen base guy. That 1 year he had 30 home runs, 37 or something.
Whatever.
Yeah, he did have that a crazy outlier year.
So Stanton is not any, and you can't even put him in the same conversation as Jose Abreu. And I'm going to stick up for Abreu to the full.
I know it's like
you guys have never answered my question. Who were you taking in that middle ground in the first round? I don't understand.
I think the shortstops. That's what fills that up for me. And
Lindor, Trevor Story.
I think Lindor, you'll be able to get like whatever we said about Yelich is also true about Lindor. Lindor's going to be a bargain where he goes. But Trevor Story, Trey Turner.
What if Lindor ends up somewhere crazy like the Yankees?
Yeah, well, if he goes to the Yankees, then all of a sudden he's going to get drafted higher. That's true. Yankees just get drafted higher.
But Arenado has some serious splits between Coors Field and away from Coors Field. He's an obvious Rockies hitter, and I can't imagine.
We thought the same thing about DJ LeMahieu.
I know, but DJ LeMahieu wasn't good in Colorado, and all of a sudden
he was good in Colorado.
He never even.
He wasn't great. He
20
was good.
home runs.
He hit for a high batting average. He just didn't hit for power in Colorado.
No, he got some of that New York.
Who would have thought that he would be a home run hitter when he couldn't hit home runs in Colorado?
If you can go to the Yankees and be Gio Urshela, and then all of a sudden be a 280 hitter with 20 home runs, then the Yankees Stadium is the easiest ballpark to hit in. Yeah, going from Coors to the Yankees is actually going to help you out.
He was like a 360 hitter last year. I mean, if that guy goes back to New York,
Arenado?
DJ LeMahieu. He's somebody that I really, I'm really high on again. Like what he's done the last couple of years. I mean, he's borderline first round for me.
He's not first round.
Are you kidding me? What did he hit last year? Like 360?
Yeah, no, he's hit like 20. Like he's put up like high 20s or low 30 home run numbers.
Has been outstanding for me. I mean,
I think for instance, I would take him over Jose Abreu.
Oh, I would take him over Abreu.
Nobody should be taking LeMahieu over Abreu.
I would take him over Abreu.
I would, because he's more. I mean, like the one thing would be if he winds up signing on a team that is significantly lesser of a lineup than the counting numbers.
I think it's a lock. He goes back to New York.
Hold on, let me find out how old this.
The Yankees need him. They need him more than any other player that they have.
He's their MVP. Goddamn, he was almost the MVP of the league last year. In my opinion, he probably should have been.
You consider that like the core of that team is like Fluky, Voit, and then injury-prone Sanchez, Judge, and Stanton. The only guy that they consistently count on is LeMahieu.
Yeah, he's been good for them.
That's the guy they need. If he signs someplace else, then that division's up for grabs.
What if LeMahieu goes somewhere besides the Yankees? Where is he still that good?
Who's got the money to sign him? First off, let's talk about that. I mean, maybe a team like the Giants might be a player. The Dodgers do. Seattle likes the Angels. I mean, you could think of the big market clubs, but are the Yankees really willing to let him walk over whatever $20 million or whatever difference someone's going to offer him?
I don't know if they're going to offer him. He's already 32. He's 32 years old. How big of a contract is he going to get at this age? Is he going to get?
He's going to get 5. He'll get 5 and 150 probably.
At 32,
I don't think that long. No, I think he might get like.
I think Jesus LeMahieu is getting paid this offseason.
He made $24 million last year.
Yep, I think he's getting paid this offseason, you guys.
$24 million is what he made last year.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? $24 million? Or
I think he is getting.
No,
paid
I thought he had two. I thought he had a 2-year, $24 million contract. That was 12 each.
Yes, it was 12 a year.
You watch.
So, but he's not getting a long. I don't know. He'll probably go for the longest contract he can get, like Cano did, and every other old guy.
He'll get a 5-year deal.
But Bauer's going to take 1 year.
I don't think anyone's getting a 5-year deal except for Mookie Betts, who already got his. Like you got to be that kind of player.
Betts got like a 10-year deal, didn't he?
Fucking 5 years, Douglas. They're going to give 5-year deals still.
Yeah.
But maybe not to pitch.
I bet he'll be less than 6 5-year deals this year.
Well, maybe there's like that less quality on the market.
I guess we're talking COVID, post-COVID. I didn't even think about that. But
come on,
it's one of those things like every team is already crying poor.
What about the fact that the Dodgers just fired a bunch of people right before the holidays, and they just won the World Series? Fuck that! They won the World. They have no excuse for this. They totally did not.
I was being facetious.
They're not poor, and even if
they
are
poor,
they're
wealthier than.
Well, they're businesses, and they are poor right now.
Too fucking bad.
They've made so much money, and they've taken, and their owners have taken so much money. They don't want to come out of pocket at this point, which is ridiculous.
Bullshit. They do have to.
It's ridiculous.
They did not.
I thought it was really cool. Who's the guy that bought the Mets? Steve Cohen. Is that his name? Right? Yeah.
Yeah. He went back and paid those guys.
He just went back and he went and paid all of even the peanut vendors and shit $500 a month.
He gave a ton of money to the city too, like for he did. He's done a lot of good.
It's really
it's good. I've always said that the Mets have been managed poorly. This guy might be different.
I hope so.
It's not that hard to fucking pay. It would cost less than these. We're talking about people with billions and billions of dollars coming up with a fucking enough money that it's
$500 a month is $6,000.
That's a team I could see.
One guy's
a player for DJ LeMahieu.
The people that are dealing with a pandemic and it makes no sense to me.
Yeah, with Cano gone, they
opened $24 million this year. We have this free agent thing.
I'm waiting for him to put his money where his mouth is, though, and as far as getting some players.
We have this free agent game, pick'em game that they're doing on the site, and it's like, what team would DJ LeMahieu not help? Like he probably helped 24 out of 28 teams. The only teams would be teams that already have second basemen that are proven.
I like Cesar Hernandez this year. I liked him. I thought I was like, Lenny was like, good. We should draft him on in that combo league we did that we shared a team. Cesar Hernandez was on our team, and I liked what he did. What do you think about Cesar? Because he was really good, and he just got a new team. I can't remember where it is though. Is it
Blue Jays, right? He's the guy in the Blue Jays.
No, because that's Biggio.
Oh, it's Galvez. Galvez, the guy. That's what I'm thinking.
I can't remember where.
I get those two guys confused, Galvez and Hernandez.
Cesar Hernandez. He went to where? Cleveland, I think, but maybe not. Maybe Philly. I can't remember. No, he came from Philly. Let me look. Let me just look. Okay. I think he came from Philly or Cincinnati. He went from Cincinnati.
He played in Philly last year. I thought. Right?
Really? I thought he left Philly. He was in Philly for a long time.
Let's look him up. Cesar Hernandez. He is definitely worth taking a look at again.
I think that from the draft that I've been in, that middle infield spot is really, really deep.
I'm looking in. Where is he? Cesar Hernandez. I want to find him.
I don't think that Cesar Hernandez is a guy that you'd want as a starting second baseman.
He's a free agent now.
think it was a middle infielder.
Can I touch on that real quick? So that's something I think
He
that
got
MLB is.
leadoff, so he got lots of RBIs and runs. That's what I loved about him. Maybe he won't bat leadoff wherever he goes because it's not worth. He's not a great player unless he's hitting at the top of the order. That's what you got. Go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
I was going to say I feel like MLB is really retarded.
Why?
Like you've got everyone sitting around during the holidays, especially this weekend, and kind of a little bit more in December, close to Christmas. They should be doing kind of like the NBA does, and that's cram their free agency into a certain period of time, like where make it a big deal.
The period, which is actually coming up. That was actually one of the things that, we're 10 days away from the Rule 5 draft. That's when
it's ridiculous. I mean, how slow the MLB offseason works. Sometimes it just stinks, man.
Okay, let's not complain. Let's just talk about what the one of the things about the hot stove is that it's not really feeling like.
Yeah, they're not going to be meeting in one place, so it's
they're
not going to
meeting for the managers.
You're not going to have that deal made over cocktails at 11 p.m.
But they're not going to do the winter meetings.
They're going to do them, but they're going to be virtual.
We don't get to know what's going on because I don't know. Maybe the reporters will be there.
That's horrible.
They set it up virtual.
Yeah, I mean, right now, the people are getting sick at a high rate. Yeah. Traveling is one of the issues, and they're not going to meet.
Well, right. It's interesting. Like,
didn't they just do a Rule 5 where they had to? Didn't they just have to?
Rule 5 is on the 5th of December this year, which is something that I'm trying to get an answer on because there's got to be a change to that because
they just grabbed players and put them on the team. They must have been from a different group.
Because of the expansion of the rosters to 60 teams, there's a lot of players that are eligible for Rule 5 this year that actually have big league experience. I'm not saying they're great, but they actually have pitched the big league, and you know what they are. And the downside of Rule 5 isn't the $50,000 that you pay the player. It's the fact that you have to keep them on your roster for a year. The one rule change I know that they're coming in is that if you qualified for Rule 5 in 2019, you automatically qualify for 2020. You get to be in both drafts. So there's going to be a lot more players on that Rule 5. And strangely enough, there's going to be a lot of guys that have pitched, like a middle reliever who's pitched 6 big league innings because they were on the 60-man roster. And on the Rule 5, you can only protect 40. So the 20 guys are going to be there. Now, I think teams are going to play with it a little bit, and that's why you'll probably see some things like slightly older players like a Renato Nunez get waived.
Right.
Because it gives them the capacity to protect a 22-year-old who might be Rule 5, But I don't know if they're changing the way it goes, but I think Rule 5 will be interesting. I think that there'll probably be 3 or 4 players that maybe not fantasy-wise, but will impact the teams that they go to this year, which is pretty odd. Because usually you're flying blind. You're guessing about a minor league player, and then you get the occasional wins like Odubel Herrera or Roberto Clemente, which is the gold standard, of course.
Odubel Herrera, did you say?
Odubel Herrera was a Rule 5 pickup. He had won the batting title at the Texas League, and he wasn't protected, and he was picked up by the Phillies. Now, admittedly, it ended on a bad note, but everything he did as a Rule 5 player up to that point was a big win for the Phillies.
I loved Odubel. I think he's so fun to watch play, but he never follows the rules, and he's just
No, he was a free swinger.
Yeah,
that was one of the reasons why they didn't protect him. Is because when you look at a guy who hits 322 in the minors but doesn't take a pitch, like he's not going to be that good in the majors, but he actually was. He was pretty good for a good number of years.
So
he's no all-star, no Hall of Famer, but definitely solid big league player.
Rachel Luba, Bauer's agent. I don't know why nobody loves Rachel Luba more because she deserves to get credit for being.
She's great on Twitter.
I think she's the first. Is she the first female agent? I don't know if she's the first female agent, but she's the first.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know of any. I mean, I'm sure that she's not the first, but she's the first to do a lot of things, and one of them is that does her pricing totally different. She allows players, and she represents managers and coaches and stuff like that. She lets them choose what kind of things that they want to use her for. So they could pretty much do just basically get me signed, or they could be having her fucking, like schedule his appointments and stuff like that. They could you can have like a whole range of different services. Okay. But anyway, she deserves more. She's just signed Puig, so I hope that she gets Puig a job because Puig makes baseball fun, and Odubel reminded me of Puig because that's
We should see Puig play this year.
Yeah,
I think
should.
last year was just an outlier for a lot of players. I mean, we should see a return to some normalcy. Me and you were kind of talking about this yesterday a little bit in terms of, we kind of touched on it earlier, how we're gonna evaluate players this year. I mean, you touched on it a little bit earlier, but I think I'm almost going to go back 3 years at this point to evaluate anyway.
three, like just a combo of the last 3 years. Like,
Mhm.
so at RotoWire, they actually have a stat for 3-year
Rolling,
average.
Yeah, and if you look at Puig's last couple of years of stats, they're good.
I
You know
love
what I
Puig.
mean? Aside from last year, where he had COVID, and I think that led to the fact that he didn't end up getting on a team and on a roster. It was already too late by the time that he was on the COVID. That's why in spring training he got on the COVID list.
But he wasn't even signed in spring training, so
I understand, but right before a team, they were speculation that the Braves were going to sign him or whoever
Yeah, no,
the hell was talking to him.
there was
He got COVID, and that's why he never
that.
got signed last year. That's the
Yeah,
only
that was
reason.
actually early in the season, but yeah, that
Mhm.
did happen.
Yeah.
Like the Giants were in that play. The people were talking about Giants, but then
Yeah,
he
they
got
were
COVID.
talking about going to the Giants. Exactly. God, he would have been a difference maker in the Giants who missed the playoffs by one game. They were talking about that. They had Farhan Zaidi on one of the freaking MLB shows the other day. He was talking about that, about how it would have made such a difference had Buster Posey played last year. You got to figure he set out the whole season because they adopted twin girls and they were worried about COVID because they were young babies.
Okay,
Same
but
thing,
Buster
so.
Posey. So I think it's going to be based on the player. Really, there's something that
I think I'm going to go back to what I did 10, 15 years ago and go with a lot more of my gut than these other numbers.
There you go.
Because we're going to have to sit there and decide what stats we're going to discount, what stats we're going to accept. We're going to have to decide what years we're going to discount, what years we're going to accept, and we're going to do it for some and not for others. I just said that I like Teoscar Hernandez, and I don't like Shane Bieber where he's going to be drafted, and the stories are the same for both of them. I can't rationalize that.
Okay,
I can't tell you the numbers. I can't tell you by the numbers what I'm talking about, but I think that Shane Bieber is not a first-round draft choice.
I don't know about that. That guy proved some things to me. He's nasty.
I think the best way to go about it is to just be aware of your own biases as much as possible and understand. Like when you say that you're not going to believe in Shane Bieber, like you were just talking about Buster Posey missing the season. And that's when I said, like, there's certain players that you give the benefit of the doubt to because you've seen them do it for like 3 years or 4 years or however many years. Like you can take the number of experience is a huge thing going into 2021, right? Because you can.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I'd feel much more comfortable coming out of the draft with a pitcher I picked in the 10th round, like David Price, if he plays, over picking Shane Bieber in the first round.
You love
because there's like a 10 times greater chance that I'm going to be happier with the outcome from David Price.
You think?
Well, no, because Shane Bieber pitches like a 4th round pick, which is a great pitcher. That's still a disappointment.
So there's certain players that you're not going to draft, not because you don't think they're good at what they do, but because you don't believe that they should be drafted that high. They're not going to return like that.
I really don't. I mean, like there are very few players that I out hate. I just don't like them at that price.
So with David Price, he went from Tampa Bay to the Red Sox, and he was excellent. Okay, in Tampa Bay. And then when he went to the Red Sox, he never did shit for them. They paid him a bunch of money.
The Red Sox is a horror. He was a decent pitcher for him. He was a pitcher for him under Red Sox standards.
They won a World Series when he was there.
Please.
The Red Sox have been playing since 1903.
David Price.
In the history of that team, only 2 left-handed pitchers ever had an ERA sub 3. One is Chris Sale. The other one was Bruce Hurst. It's a terrible place to be a left-handed pitcher. When they went with 4 lefties, I thought that was silly. He's going to come back to the Dodgers. Dodgers are a pretty decent place to pitch. It has a little bit of a home run bias, but the other stuff is good for a pitcher. And he has good stuff, and he's going to be – I'm not saying he's going to be a 2.73 ERA kind of guy, but he's going to wind up
under like a 4.08 ERA.
3.5. Under 3.5 with the Dodgers.
No.
Okay. He's pitched a lot of innings, David Price.
I think he's only had 1 year over 4 in his entire career. Even those bad years in the Red Sox, he was like 3.78, 3.88.
He has but yes, he had 3.99, three. This is for just the Red Sox. 3.99 ERA, and then that's 230 innings. The next year he had only 74 innings. I don't remember what happened to him, but he only had 74 innings that year and a 3.38 ERA. But then actually he wasn't as bad as I thought he was. In 2018 he had a 3.58, which is not bad at all. And then in 2019 a 4.28.
I'd say the 1 year, 2019.
4.28. That's horrible. That's a Trevor Bauer year. And that's like you're not that proud of that at all. But the thing is, he was better than I thought he was, but I felt like he was horrible for Boston. I like him better in LA for sure. I think
the thing about it was that the expectations were so high on him but he actually was a good big league pitcher with Boston. The other thing he did look really awful versus the Yankees, which let's excuse you a little bit.
And yes, that's totally true. He was horrible. He just always crapped out. Okay,
I mean, every pitcher has a few bad games, except for a few.
Horrible.
But his all came versus the Yankees.
They were looking forward to the next time they get to go up against David Price.
Because they had the signals.
It was becoming more mental than anything. Anyway, he's in Dodgers now. He's Dodgers, and he's better off with the Dodgers. He got a whole year off. What do you think that they do if they're taking?
I think that's something that's actually pretty good. Is like if you're talking about a pitcher who's pitched for 5 years or more, getting a year off actually could benefit them.
I don't think the Verducci effect kicks in for anybody that's actually had more than 1 or 2 seasons of good numbers.
I'm just saying, like if you have a pitcher like David Price, who one of the things that his problem with the Red Sox was he missed pretty much in every year that he played there 14 games, 20 games, a small amount.
There's no way David Price will pitch 200 innings this year.
But
I'm not saying that, but I think he's going to pitch over 162.
Here's the problem. No, he will not, because
I expect more like 120.
In 2019, he only pitched 107 in a full season. He only pitched half of what a normal full-time starting pitcher should get.
How old is David Price right now? 36?
He's 34 going into this coming season. He'll be 30.
I thought he was older than he was.
35.
But he's been in the big league since he was, 21, 22?
He's been around.
He's got some mileage on his arm.
He came up in 2008, okay? He only pitched 14 innings in the majors, but...
Yeah, that's when he was the reliever in the World Series that year.
Starting in 2009, he's pitched he's been a fucking innings-eating monster, dude.
That's what I'm saying. He's got a lot of innings on that arm. He's ever had a Tommy John surgery?
And a year off would be nothing but a benefit to somebody like that.
I worry about that.
A benefit or not a benefit? I don't know if that's a good or bad.
I mean, the thing is,
I just don't think you can sit out a whole
injuries
year and come
heal
back
from
and pitch a lot
two
of
things.
innings.
Injuries heal with drugs or intervention, like surgeries or rest. He's gotten 500 days of rest between.
His strikeout rate did not go down. His strikeout rate has not gone down at all. He's striking out more per 9 than he ever has. In 2019, even when his ERA sucked, he was striking out a ton of batters. Always. In fact, he started striking out batters better and better as the years have gone on. He's been increasing his strikeout rate. That means that he either has, let me look at his velocity here. I like to look at his velocity, see what's up with it.
I'm staying up way too late, but I'm going to stick up. I want to fill my drink and come back.
Okay, we'll see you soon.
It'll only be 2 minutes.
So David Price's velocity went from his peak velocity was in 2012. He had 95.5 mile an hour fastball. Okay, Dan, 95. And it's actually gone from 95 to 93 and then back up to 94, back down to 92 and then up to 94. He's hovering 92, 94 mile an hour still.
I'm not saying David Price isn't good. I'm just saying there's no way that I would be happier taking Price in the 10th, but I wouldn't taking Bieber in the first. I know if I take Bieber in the first or second, that I have got a horse that I can lean on almost the whole year. Jacob deGrom style, Scherzer in his peak style. Garrett Cole. There's high value to be had in those top of the totem pole aces for me.
For me, it's all about how, because he has very little experience compared to the rest of the guys. Okay, he's had one full season. In 2019, he had a very full season, and then he came back and did a great job in 2020. This is where 2020 can make or break your opinion on a player, because especially a pitcher. You see that he had an excellent 2019, 214 innings, and he had a 3.28 ERA. And
how many strikeouts did he have? Though, like a shit ton.
Excellent, 259.
Yeah, exactly.
14 innings, and then
that's a top pitcher.
And he does it again, but he's even better.
Mm-hmm.
That matters. Like,
his stuff is nasty.
Okay, I think that he's definitely in the. I mean, let's talk about some pitchers that were total. Not even. It doesn't matter what the reason why. Only that they were just total disappointments in Chris Sale, Scherzer, Verlander. Like, how many of the top 15 pitchers, we talked about this last night, some.
Yep, they were injured.
Total busts.
There was not a normal spring training last year. That affected a lot of the top guys.
Don't be weak, dude.
I think it affected a lot of players, not just the pitchers.
I think they should just toughen up a little bit and quit being fucking little kids. They need to be playing pitching. COVID should not be, unless, I don't know. I have no right to say that because
they stopped the season in the middle of the season. We didn't freaking play until August or September, whatever the hell they kicked up the season last year. It's ridiculous.
I mean, but why does it take 2 weeks to start learning how to
build up innings? That's how spring training works. These guys go out and they throw 1 inning, 2 innings. They build up their innings.
That's bullshit.
And these guys, they threw them out there, and they were trying to go through 5-inning games when they weren't ready for it.
Yeah,
I was the stamina.
I was shocked by that. I really thought there'd be a lot more.
I could not believe it.
2-3 inning starts to start the season, and there
was not. They just threw those guys to the wolves.
Yes, because they should be able to throw fucking 5 innings.
Yeah, I'm not saying that what they should be doing is because they're professional ball players.
Yeah,
is that the guys like Scherzer who know what to do in spring training should have been doing it on their own the best they could. I think that
there's only so many bullets on that gun, man.
And I think that a lot of pitchers that pitched really well might really be a function of their better preparation than others. I mean, the preparation probably made a bigger difference in 2020 than many other years. Though the truth is, I don't think there'll be a full spring training this year either.
Why, Douglas? Why?
There's gonna be. I was gonna say the same thing, Doug. You're on the same page.
Pitchers and catchers are supposed to report normally around Valentine's Day. February 14th is still winter, and like I said, the disease is at its peak.
You don't believe in the vaccine or what?
I believe in the vaccine. I just think that it's going to take a while to get to people. Admittedly, the baseball players will probably get it first.
Do you know
and with President Biden,
do you know that there's 100 million vaccines ready to go?
But listen to me. With Biden in place, who's to say what kind of different rules are going to be listening to actual doctors and things like that?
Cuomo wants to not give New Yorkers the ability to take the virus or the vaccine because he doesn't like the way that Trump is distributing it. He doesn't like the fact that he's trying to say that people in New York that are poor won't get the vaccine, even though we've already acknowledged it's completely free. But Trump wants to distribute it through CVS and Walgreens, and he doesn't.
They changed the rule. The rule was going to be that it was going to be distributed, overseen by the CDC based on need first, and then they changed the rule this week.
100 million ready to go. 100 million. I don't even think.
I don't think there are 100 million ready to go right now.
Why? Why don't you think
because they only did I mean, like we have the first one to come in was the Pfizer one.
Yes.
And they had, if you read their thing, they had 96 cases that they based that percentage off of. Okay. They're not making this in any great quantity yet. Now they're ramping up now, but billion is a large number.
I'm sorry, a million. We have 100 million ready to ship as soon as they get the okay. And the reason that you don't believe that is because you just watch the normal mainstream media.
No. It's the fact that my family works in the medical field.
Yeah, I know.
It's like I mean, I have cousins, mothers.
Okay, but
all sorts of things all through, and like their expectation was that as hospital people, they would have gotten from the first batch of 50 or 60,000, they would have gotten that because the truth is, with the exception of the.
Why do you think they're not going to get it?
Because there's 8 billion people on the planet, and only one of those we have control of. Only one of those. We have
control of 360 million people here in the United States. 100 million doses of the vaccine are ready to be distributed as immediately. I don't even think 100 million people in this country want to take the vaccine, but the fact that some governors are trying to keep it from the American people, like you're telling me I have a right to decide?
I've never heard Cuomo say he was going to keep it away from people.
Oh, well, he has. He says he doesn't want to hear because he doesn't like the way Trump is distributing it, and it's a bunch of nonsense. You don't tell me that I'm allowed to have an abortion at 9 months pregnant, but I'm not allowed to decide whether or not I want to take a vaccine because you don't like the president.
No, the change wasn't about the president. It was the original plan was that we would get it to the doctors and nurses first, then we'd get it to things like firefighters. You don't think
the doctors and nurses are first on the list? You're out of your mind.
They're not.
It's bullshit.
It's being distributed pro rata by state by state. So
what does that mean?
It means that California is going to get more than Florida is going to get. Florida is going to get more than Illinois is going to get.
It's going to go to senior citizens and the first.
That was the plan.
You need to dig deeper, Doug. Dig deeper. That's bullshit. That's a lie.
They're doing it now. The truth is, most states are probably going to follow a similar pattern, but it was changed that it's going to be done state by state by state. It
doesn't matter. Everybody gets it free, 100%. If you have access to
it's like, all right. Let me put it this way: the let's say tomorrow. Well, it's bad. Monday morning.
Yes.
FDA passes this.
Right.
When do you think you're going to be able to get one?
Monday afternoon. Me personally, I don't want one, but the people that are the most high risk and the first front line responders.
That's who's supposed to get it. Frontline responders, the people in nursing homes. So let those people go first.
I'm 45 years old and I'm not sick of anything. I have no symptoms or any kind of underlying condition. So no, I'm not going to get it first. But
all the doctors have been saying all along that it's going to be a 6 to 9 month rollout.
They're right. You need to quit listening to them because Trump is.
No, that's the truth. Okay. That's the people. The people.
Guess what? The truth is the vaccine is already 90%.
No, that's actually one of the weird
problems.
You didn't
believe that was going to happen, right? You did not.
I believe the vaccine is going to happen, but it's going to get to me in Q2 of next year, and I believe that since almost the beginning.
Well, I'm just telling you, he said it was going to be coming out by Christmas. He wanted it out before that, but of course they don't like him because he decided to fuck the middleman and give you your prescription drugs at a lot cheaper cost because he decided to get rid of high-powered people that hate him. Because now insulin is only going to cost $35 for older people on Medicare. $35.
Why you really think that these changes are happening in the last 2 months of his presidency that he couldn't have done 3 years ago? It's like it's weird. It just is. It's like
the one that did it. Besides the last two, probably promising it, but none of them do shit for you. Don't you get that? Like none of these fucking Democrats care about you. They've not.
Democrats are the only ones that care about the Republicans. Literally, care
about making opportunities.
Literally want people to die.
Bullshit. That's a lie. That is a lie.
They rolled people into the disease, said screw them. They opened up the when they closed things down, they didn't care about the other stuff. We were peaking in Florida and they were opening us up because Ron DeSantis wants people to die. No, maybe he doesn't vocalize that, but his actions are the reason why we have 250 million people dead.
How about Cuomo, who we've actually had 70?
New York has had a lot of deaths, but the truth is, once they got through that first part, they got hit the hardest. They got hit the hardest when we didn't know what to do about it.
That's we.
New York did. New York and at some extent the Jersey edge, the Connecticut edge, But
since sick people with COVID into nursing homes, and we lost like 35,000 people. Because
if you take out, and you really can't take it out, but since they dealt with it,
since you because
the government health agencies of the state of New York dealt with it, their rates of contraction and death have been lower than about 16 states.
And how do we take care of it?
Huh?
How do we take care of it? We stop putting people in fucking nursing homes that were sick, since that's like the highest risk group of people that you could possibly imagine. He literally
I live in Florida.
Our entire Javits Center was completely
there are more people age 65 and older that don't live in nursing homes than live in them, and they're just as susceptible.
Why would you put it in any home where people have physical illnesses? Why would you put sick COVID?
The early thinking was having medical treatment would be better for them.
Excuse me, we had an entire military ship pulled into the fucking dock in Manhattan, and not one bed was being used.
Right, because that military ship by design was for other things.
Central Park was a hospital. Not
and it
one
was pretty
bed.
Full.
None were used. Not one bed. Why are they putting them there? There's no excuse for it. So regardless, COVID is very scary for all of us.
But it's going to take a little time.
It's not going to mess around with spring training. I just don't think it is. The fact that you don't trust the vaccine just because Trump.
I didn't say I didn't trust vaccine. I'm just saying that to move $1 billion of anything.
They already been planning it. They've been planning it since COVID kicked in. They've been
even if they were to start the trucks tomorrow, it wouldn't get to you for at least 30 days.
Okay, you don't need trucks to bring
whatever.
Things.
Well, no, you need for the Pfizer vaccine. You need to have super refrigerated trucks.
They have 2-day mail, 2 days priority mail, whatever it is. You need 2 doses. Yeah. Trump is having the vaccine. There's 3 different,
and that alone is one thing. Like right there, even if you were to get your disease, your treatment tomorrow, you actually don't have the vaccine for 30 days. That's the first 30 days.
I don't give a fuck. Spring training doesn't start till February, and I don't care.
Yeah, it'll be in the dead of winter. I'm not saying that they're going to do it for that long, but they're probably going to push it back about a month. What they learned from last year was that
nobody died.
They could get away with less spring training. They get away with a little bit less spring training. So why take that chance until the winter's over?
Why? Because you're young and you shouldn't stop living your life because of a fucking
young people die.
Who? Which young person, dude? If the media could find one, I'm sure they would. But I
mean, go to well, you can go to Twitter, Facebook, COVID, and these are the stories. You know who died? Did you ever go to? No, he's not young, but he's like 40 years old.
I'm not trying to act like nobody died.
40 years old. A guy. Do you ever go to a basketball game and you see this stupid show called Quick Change, where this guy and this girl, they like dance around and they change clothes real fast?
No, I haven't seen it, but
it's a halftime show kind of thing. The guy from Quick Change died just 3 days ago, and I only know this because I know the halftime guys at the Magic.
Okay, I'm not saying nobody dies. I believe
he was like 42, 43. I'm not saying he was young, but
I think about all of the things that we are allowing this disease or virus to run. Okay, and like for some people, you should just stop living. And the problem with it is that mentally, it's not okay.
Mentally, what we're going through is actually worse.
Is Dan here? I haven't been seen.
Mentally, you're dealing with a situation where when kids go to school, everybody is in a mask and they're separated by plexiglass, and every 2 weeks or so they're shut down for a week.
Work, then.
Every 45 days they have to go. Why is Angela not here today? It's like, well, her grandma died. She had a funeral. That's what they're going through, which is going to have psychological effects too.
They're not putting sick people in old people's homes. They're not having that problem. I just don't.
People are dying in every age group. Yes, people that are under age of 6 die at about a third the rate of people that are 35.
I understand
that people that are 35 die at about a third the rate of people that are 80. But everybody's dying at different things because there's 326 million people here.
I don't know anybody that's even gotten that sick, dude. And I live in the
really
outside in New York City. We have a neighbor. She got COVID. She didn't even go to the hospital or nothing. She was home from work she had flu-like symptoms for like 1 day, but she never even threw up. And I don't know anybody that's gone to the hospital. And the fact that Lenny's lived here his entire life, which is 70 years, and we don't know anybody, dude.
There is a little bit of a. Yeah,
and they don't have any.
You are, the more protected you are.
That you even have COVID. They could say that you died of COVID. They don't even know if you had. They don't have.
When they say that you died of COVID, if you've had a test, they know it for a fact. There's not very many people on there that they didn't have a test for. There are some from the beginning because
What about all the
it
people
just made sense.
dead in their houses?
But the truth is that 10 years from now, when this thing peaks out at 400,000 people that we know, or whatever the number is, they're going to add 60 or 80,000 people because they're going to go back and say, like the truth is in Florida at the beginning, people were dying of pneumonia at a rate 7 times higher than they died any time it was tracked.
But
because they didn't know to call it COVID.
Depending on what state you're in, they're either over reporting them or they're under reporting them.
They're all under reporting them.
New York is not under reporting. We look at the number of deaths.
New York added 3,000 or 4,000 on that one day. When you look at their chart, they added people that they thought probably died of COVID that weren't tested. But that's the only time they ever did it.
Douglas, I live here. I know you were the first one that brought it up to me, and that was what made me very intent on seeing what they're doing. Because in New York, you're right. There was that one day that they added like 4,000 deaths, but those were all the people that they found dead in their houses, because that's what happened here. People were being found dead in their houses. It's disgusting, but it's true. And that's because either they weren't going to get the treatment that they needed, or they were like hesitant to go.
There are still people that are not getting the treatment they needed because
right, all of those are going down as a COVID death, not even with any kind of test or anything. That's the law here. You do not have to say that that person tested positive for COVID. But if you
conspiracy,
that's the problem.
If a person dies of, I mean, the truth is, like, very few people die of COVID truly, but COVID will cause respiratory failure. COVID will cause respiratory failure, and you die of respiratory failure. Right now, I have a friend who got caught COVID, and he's going to survive COVID, but he has sepsis.
Fine, 8,000 people in this country.
The fact that he got sepsis from having COVID doesn't mean he didn't die from COVID. He didn't. If COVID causes sepsis. Sepsis is a reaction in your body where it goes. A lot of these people who died of sepsis is a situation where your body overreacts to an infection.
Okay.
And if COVID's that infection, and COVID has a specialty to do this, that your body starts attacking itself.
For sure.
Now, had you didn't have COVID, that would never have happened. That is a COVID-related death.
We don't know for sure we know that was what instigated sepsis, but sepsis may or may not have happened in this person's body the next time they got sick.
It could not. Yeah, no, he could have got sepsis from different infections, but this is the infection that caused it.
Okay, fine. He died of sepsis. Okay.
He didn't die. He's just in critical condition.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I hope that he does well. I really do. I hope that he gets better.
One of our guys. He's a fantasy industry guy.
No matter who he is, I hope he gets better from COVID.
Not a Lenny guy, but
when kids go to school, parents can go to work. Does that matter at all? Because there is an argument for the kids going to school for the people that are really poor, because what should have happened is, and this is really the problem, is that there should have been a second stimulus, because only people that were of means were able to not send their kids to school, were able to stay home. I mean, you said like Lenny went out of his house for the first time. Like, none of these people can afford it, especially the middle class people, not just a poor people.
And that's it. But you cause that. And the truth is, the restaurants are still dying. Anything that needs people to walk through your gates. Like I had a business where I had a business where I did trivia. I did trivia at shows.
Guess why there's no stimulus?
What?
I know that we probably both think that it's because of the other side that there's no stimulus.
Well, the Democrats only passed one in April, which is the one we really desperately needed, because what happened by not passing the April one is that these people were faced with being evicted, losing their mortgages, or going to work in danger. And we know that no matter what it was, 100 people went to work. A certain percent of them got COVID. A certain percentage of that died. And had they had the wherewithal to stay home, and they might have stayed home.
Like
we forced them to walk into something like this. It's like,
do you know that there's nobody getting evicted still to this day? That nobody is getting evicted. Did you know
that is? Do
you know why that is?
There is a moratorium on evictions
because of the court reason.
But if as a I'm a landlord too, but there's ways around that for certain things. And this is what's going on is and this isn't really a good thing, mind you, is that people are not getting offered. You fall behind, right? You can't get evicted. You can't get evicted because of the moratorium, right? But you're on a 1-year lease, and your lease comes up in July.
Okay.
You're not being offered a new lease because you're behind on your stuff. Now, because you don't have a lease in Florida, you can be evicted.
You see,
because that's not a COVID-related thing. That's because you don't have a lease. There's no contract between you and them. So people are getting evicted, but a lot of people are still in there.
No. You're not getting evicted in a month-to-month rental. If you are
you don't automatically month-to-month is no contract. You have to give the proper notice, whatever it is, 60 days. But yeah, they're getting moved out of their houses.
They're not being allowed to sign another lease. It's a lot different than being evicted from their house. And that's
the state of Florida. Not having a lease is a reason to be evicted. That has nothing to do with COVID.
Fine if you get evicted, but you still have to have 30 days notice. You still have to go through the proper channels. It takes like months for somebody to get evicted.
It takes about 2 months. And this year, and a little bit longer nowadays because they are so backed up.
Okay, there are people out there that are losing their homes because they didn't sign a new lease and they don't have anywhere.
They were never offered one.
They don't have the money.
They were never offered a new lease.
Why do you think that there was no? Well, first of all, Trump had to sign an executive order to continue the stay on the fact that people cannot get evicted.
No, and that's a good.
Doing that, the Democrats weren't going to do it. But the thing is that he acted like that because they can't decide together and come up with a resolution so that people can get some fucking money that they need, okay, to live. And the fact is that Nancy Pelosi and your side, they wanted to put in all kinds of shit, like you don't have to have a voter ID. You don't have to.
They wanted to do things like get money to hospitals to take care of the hospitals, get money to schools to take care of the schools. What the Republicans wanted, was because they were forcing people to go into a job space.
Holy moly.
Or they wanted to give them no liability for infections, and that is really something there. Now, don't get me wrong, I'd be for capping liability at some number, but no liability is just part of the plan.
There's no such thing as no liability, dude.
No liability for COVID.
So you think it's okay for somebody to come into your restaurant and sue you because they got COVID 10 days later and be like, that's what
no, admittedly, they have to go to the court and prove that they got it from you and not from something else. And admittedly, that would be tough to do. Probably only about 1 in 10 would actually win.
Well, then why don't you then give it to the fucking Republicans and get some goddamn stimulus passed? But you decide not to allow Lindsey Graham to have his way. The way
it's because they want to maximize the deaths. That's what they want. When Obama became president, they passed fewer things than anything else. Because they didn't want to give him a win. They didn't want to give him a win.
Obama.
There has been plenty of money there. What they're doing in Georgia? You know what they're doing in Georgia right now? You know what the ads are saying? They're saying there are 2 Democrats running for a thing. It's like vote for the Democrats and you might get some money, because the truth is, whatever bill gets passed after the 20th is going to have not much money in it, because they don't want to give Biden the win, and by not giving Biden the win, and it's a win for mankind.
Nobody should give anybody a win. We should have a fair.
Well, no, but that's the thing. This is the way, because to the Republicans, it's all about X's and O's. It's all about winning and losing.
No, it isn't. It's about
that's what they were under Obama. Under Obama, with the exception of the 60 days where he had 50 people in the Senate, was let's not get anything done. What Obama inherited wasn't as bad as what Biden is going to inherit, because this virus is a different stage of problem.
Fucking Biden. You know what? But
it's a different stage of problem. But
not have even come close.
we didn't even get
the virus didn't hit this country, and
that is crazy, because there are so many misinformed voters in America. I said this to people in the last election, right? It's like you can vote for somebody because you don't like them. You can vote against somebody because you don't like it. But nobody has said to me. I said to people in 2016.
Nobody loved Biden.
Nobody's been able to say this sentence to me in 4 years. I know that Hillary Clinton's not a criminal. I know that Democrats don't kill babies. I voted for Trump because I preferred that candidate. because both those that statement is 100% true.
I
And if you can't say that, if you can't say Hillary Clinton's not a criminal, Democrats don't kill babies, and that you're a misinformed voter.
Do you know that? Why do you think that they love to allow abortions till 8 months pregnant? Why do you think that
They do not love to help. About 6,000 happen a year, and they're the worst things in the world. Basically, the baby is dead, or they're going to kill the mother, or they're both going to die, and there's a decision made to save somebody in the 9th month, in that 8th month.
That's not the law.
No, that is what the law says from Roe v. Wade says that the first 3 months of the pregnancy, the mother's rights definitely outstrip the fetus's rights.
Right.
In the last 3 months, the fetus outstrips the mother. In the middle, we don't know, and we're going to leave it up to the states. That's what it said. Now, all those things considering, the right of the mother at the beginning is not 100% absolute, and the right of the fetus in the last 3 months is not 100% absolute, because they've made exceptions for the death of the parent.
For sure, that's a medical emergency,
and those are 99.99% of the ones that you see in the 8th and 9th month.
What about what I saw about the fucking what is it, Planned Parenthood? How they go and they make deals with people who need the body parts of young babies.
Yeah, that doesn't really happen. That's that crazy Project Veritas guy.
You're telling me that doesn't happen?
That does not happen.
It happens. It's on video. It happens.
No,
how do you say it doesn't happen?
That video is that Project Veritas guy talking to a janitor or something. And for all we know, we paid a guy because that guy's a liar.
Do you think it costs money for young baby body parts? Do you think that they sell those or not? You don't think that they do any? What do you think they do with the dead?
No. They actually, I don't think they actually sell them. They donate them for the most part. I know this from my own experience that they came to me. My first wife, we had trouble having a kid. We tried in vitro, right?
Okay.
We put 6 of them in, and they didn't take. Right. Okay. So there were 3 left.
Mm-hmm.
And they came to me and said, "What do you want to do with these?" And I said, "I couldn't sell them, but I could donate them to science."
Those are stem cells.
Those are mine. I mean, they were literally mine, like they belonged to me.
They're not organs that work that can be used to replace bad organs in a living human being. They cannot be done. Nothing can be done like that.
You can't really do it with fetal organs either.
Lie. Like the umbilical cord, it has the most strongest stem cells.
Yeah, there's nutrients in that. There is, and the truth is, the placenta is often saved after the marriage, and it's consumed.
Do you believe that Planned Parenthood just throws that stuff away, even though they can use it like medically?
No, they use it medically. Planned Parenthood is a medical grouping, and if they share this medically with somebody else and get something in return, which is normally not money, but it's helping some other way.
Why do you think that it's not money? Why do you think that what you saw in Project Veritas videos is not real?
Because everything at Project Veritas is a lie.
But why do you think that? Because of one time?
Because the first 15 times they came out with stuff, we found out that 75% of it was false.
That's not true.
Like you are the people who believe that are the guys that the boy can cry wolf to forever and ever, the most gullible people on the planet. Why do you think? Because this is the other thing, is because nobody else but those morons can reproduce that. And that's one of the things about news. It's like if CNN says something, 99% of the time you're also going to get it from the AP. You're also going to get it from the Guardian in London. You're also going to get it from WAPO, because they can independently verify that thing happened.
Yeah, through the other media companies. They're independent.
No, they have the people that I named all have their own newsrooms.
They're all liars. I promise you. They're all
things
liars.
that are empirically verifiable with other people are lies.
They're not
things that somebody makes up is true.
Hold on a minute. Douglas, when you see something on video with your own 2 eyes and you see a conversation happening between 2 people.
You know what I saw with my own 2 eyes? I saw this starfighter shoot through this ventilator shaft and blow up a Death Star. I saw it with my own 2 eyes.
Why did, when you see a conversation of 2 people,
I don't believe for a second that they blew up the Death Star.
How do you think they did that? Do you think they got together and costumed people and How do you think
No,
they made that video?
in many of those cases, they get sympathetic people to be on the other side and act like that.
So they do. They infiltrate.
No. I mean, they get Project Veritas intern. You're going to be the person I'm interviewing, and you say this happens.
They pretend that they're part of your side, and then they get
they pretend that they're the other side entirely.
Totally. No, they pretend that they're your friend.
And they make up a story that fits the crazy.
And they get you to tell them shit about what's really going on. And then when they do that on camera, you're telling me that that's a lie.
No one else can get it except for those guys. If they get it from people who are their friends dressed up as those things.
Whatever, they're fucking. It doesn't matter who the friend is. You're talking about a community.
No, it's like no. If I interviewed you.
I don't care where Hillary's emails came from. I just want to know.
If I interviewed you about this abortion thing or whatever, and you told me that this happens, it wouldn't mean that it happened. It's just me interviewing you.
What about when you see it happening? Then what?
If you actually the first person who saw it happen.
What if you're watching it on video?
What?
If you're watching it on video, it's not real? From undercover camera that's like hidden in somebody's blouse.
Nobody's hiding what happens with abortion. There are abortion videos out there. It's not.
I'm talking about the conversations that they had with numerous Planned Parenthood
with numerous people without credentials who are unnamed, who are being blacked out in their face so that no one knows who they are.
Surgical doctors are told which body parts not to crush when they're performing an abortion at 8 months. They are told which body parts not to ruin, because those are the ones that need to be going in the fucking little donor bags. That's the one.
In those cases, that's probably you, because you're in a situation where, all right, you're having an abortion 8th month because the mother is going to die if you don't have it.
No, that's not. These are not.
89.9% of the cases, there are some that are right at the cusp of that 6 month.
No way.
Go a little bit later, but you're talking 8th, 9th month. There's not a human being in America that's been aborted by a doctor that is part of the AMA.
Hold on a minute.
Not a human.
If you have to get an abortion because you're going to die. That happens in a real hospital not at Planned Parenthood.
No. Planned Parenthood doesn't do abortions either. They do abortions at hospitals.
They fucking abort babies, and they also give out hormones.
Not at a Planned Parenthood. They go to hospitals and do those things. Their doctors go to hospitals.
Guess what else?
They have.
The Planned Parenthood is giving your kids hormones, right? At age 16, they're allowed to get hormones so they can transition.
That's the thing. It's like when one statement is completely lost, we transfer to another thing.
I read it. No, I don't.
No, that is a weird thing. That is a weird.
You just don't want to talk about.
I actually believe that. Like that's the one instance where women who are in the first 3 months don't have full say.
When did Planned Parenthood ever plan anybody for parenthood? They've never done that. Not one time have they ever used the fucking federal funded money. We pay for that.
No. The truth is, they do more for that than any group in the history of the world.
They plan for parenthood, or they abort babies.
No, they plan for parenthood. Matter of fact, the abortions are like 3% of what they do. What they do is they do a lot of prenatal care.
They do a lot of hormones.
They do a lot of birth control.
Prenatal care, my ass. They don't do prenatal care.
See, that's false news.
Who the fuck do they teach to have a baby, dude? Who?
No,
prenatal care.
Checkups. They give out free prenatal vitamins. Those are the things that they do. That's prenatal care. But a Planned Parenthood has never performed an abortion in their office.
They give out condoms and fucking hormones.
They give out condoms.
And
they
hormones.
do that. They do birth control. People get
giving hormones to young kids who don't even have the fucking mindset to be.
That is the one. That is the one. The one thing is, I do believe that somebody who is considered legally a minor shouldn't be able to do those sorts of things. They shouldn't be able to do them on their own. Though
they're not capable of deciding. They're having.
I don't think they're incapable, but there's more. There's probably more to it than
there's a lot of
they might see.
Yeah, well, whatever. People get picked on. They have no friends. They find out that.
But that's still a long.
Now they have friends.
The fact that a 17-year-old boy wants to transition to a girl and they give them hormones.
All the hormones
is a long cry from them doing abortions of an 8-month-old person. An 8-month-old fetus. And it definitely doesn't prove the abortion happened.
Listen, I don't. If you need an abortion to save your life, by all means. But why
do you have a problem with the late-term abortions? They're almost all, literally 99.9, with the exception of the 6-month rule. There might be some people because 6 months is a certain number of days. That might be 4, 6, 8 days late because you can sort of fudge the numbers at the edge. Because no one really knows whether you got pregnant on December 12th or December 20th.
Totally. There's a real.
But you can't do that by more than a month or so.
When a kid,
that's why I've specifically said 8th and 9th month are 99.9% this. There might be some in the 7th month.
That people are being told that nobody should be waiting that long to decide whether or not they want to have a baby. There's way too many things. In fact, if you have sex without a condom, you can go get a pill the next day at Planned Parenthood, and it will keep you from getting pregnant.
Well, you just right there, you said that's them doing
family
planning.
That's them doing family planning, right? But why are they encouraging a girl to have an abortion at 8 months pregnant? No doctor in normal life would.
They're not encouraging a girl unless they say that it's going to stop your heart or something along those lines.
Well, then Planned Parenthood isn't doing the fucking thing, because Planned Parenthood doesn't get to decide if your heart is going to stop. The hospital.
No. Their doctors might say to somebody,
they need to go to emergency.
Your eclampsia is so bad that you're at risk of dying if you could do this further.
But you go to the emergency,
and then you say, and that's where they do it. They take the emergency room and they do it there. That's the reason why, like in Oklahoma, it's hard. That Oklahoma is one of the states out in the Midwest. One of the Midwest is that they passed a law saying that Planned Parenthood doctors can't get admitting privileges, which basically meant they couldn't do abortions.
I understand.
Because they actually go to hospitals to do abortions.
They have one clinic, and
except for the pills. State. The pills they do in the chemical abortions they do in the thing, and those are the very early ones.
I don't think that we agree as much as you think that we do. I do not think that people that are in danger of health should have a baby.
Then what? There aren't more than a couple a year that don't fit that category that are late term abortions. With the exception of like that 4 or 5 days thing.
Planned Parenthood,
where it could be 6 months and 6 days, because you can sort of fudge a little bit. And when people wait that long to have an abortion, it's mostly because they couldn't get to it.
That I should be in charge of my own body and decide if I should have an abortion anytime I want.
Most part,
but I can't take COVID vaccine because you don't like it.
I didn't say you couldn't take COVID vaccine.
No, my governor does, though. My governor is saying he doesn't want to distribute it unless.
No, what he said he wants. What I heard him say was he wants the doctors to tell him it's good. That's what I heard him say. And the truth is, I want the doctors to tell me that's good first too. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think.
So wait a minute. So you're basically. What about Pfizer? Are they allowed to say whether it's good or not? Because they should have independent verification, which is what they're going through, which is what the FDA approval is. Okay. So then when it comes out and it's ready to go, there's 100 million doses ready to go. You're not going to give it to the people a choice of whether or not they can take it because you don't like it for some reason.
The truth is you probably it's one of those things where there is like they have that ruling in New York about like they can't limit sizes of churches. Yes, where I sort of understand that because the right to religion there. But if you go to a church that packs you in at 100 people in a pew right next to each other, that church has no God there anyway, and you should find another church. The only reason those churches get together is so they can pass the hat. But because decent churches will figure a way around it.
You're just not spiritual. That's why you don't think.
No,
They want to believe in that.
No, a decent church will find a way to do that. That's safer than packing 150 people into a building.
They don't get a chance to try because Cuomo said no.
They could have outdoor services. They could have services limited to a certain number of people. But the truth is, I understand that, and I also understand that political protest because it's a First Amendment thing.
But
might get away with it. I'm saying it's as okay as going to church. But the difference between this and the church is that the guy that's running that church who packs 200 people into whatever church it is that packs 200 people into a 200-seat auditorium. That guy doesn't care about his flock, and you should find another church.
Excuse me, you don't have a right to say whether they care about it. And
they're putting them at high risk of an infection. That's what they're doing.
We have the choice to decide whether we want to be at high risk for infection or not. The American people, the adults in this country, we get to decide who.
I at some level, because of people not playing by simple rules.
Look,
because people not playing by simple rules, we have 250 million people dead instead of what might have been 125 million.
You don't even.
So
that is Fauci and Dr. Birx came out a long time ago and said that the high end is like over 1 million people.
The high end at the beginning. The high end at the beginning was if you did absolutely nothing.
The
If
funny
you did
thing is-
absolutely nothing about it, the high end was going to be like 2 million people. But
listen,
the thing about it is that a
It's
lot of people took it upon themselves, including you, by the way,
to do what?
to follow most of the CDC guidelines.
Of course I did. But here's the thing.
But you weren't technically.
Who you think was totally out of line and didn't care about people dying, right?
Yeah, Ron DeSantis is
And
he
my
wants
governor-
people to die in America.
Okay,
He wants Floridians to die.
fuck. Listen to this. This is 8 months later. We have Governor Cuomo who shut everything down and made people wear masks. We can't even go into a store without wearing a mask, and it's been
And that's
like
a good
that
thing.
for 8 months. But we are going to have the same problem as you right now. So
Your problem is much less worse than what we have in Florida.
What the fuck are you talking about?
You had all if you were to take the treatment of COVID since June on, New York is middle of the pack in deaths.
New York has the highest death rate of any state.
They got hit the earliest when we didn't know what to do about it, and people died at the highest rate.
What about all the other states?
You can't undo that.
Let's just look at
Those
the
people really did die. But from June on, once they knew what to do, New York has done a pretty exemplary job of protecting its people from
Okay,
COVID.
how about this? Let's look at all the states, okay? The ones that decided to close down completely and the ones that didn't close down at all.
I don't know what state closed down completely.
New York closed down completely. There's no doubt about it. People are moving out.
There is a huge difference after the first wave. In the second wave and the third wave.
8 months. It's 8 months later. Florida is doing the same as any other state.
We're worse than we were at the beginning by about 3 times.
How are you worse? In death?
In both in infections, it's like 10 times. In deaths, it's more. It's higher.
No,
we've experienced something like 7 of the top 10 death states in the last like 2.5 months.
That's not true.
Now, admittedly, there's a little problem with the death recording because you have to. What's recorded on Monday may have happened 3-4 days before, but the death rate right now in Florida is as if we didn't do anything.
Lie. That's not true.
No, the death rate today. I'm not saying the whole way. I'm saying the death rate today.
What are you talking about? So you're talking about every day. I can guarantee that Florida is not in the top 10 of death rate every day.
Well, no, death totals, I guess, is what I'm death totals. Yeah, I said rate with us, but we're a large state. We deal with the fact that 200 or 300 people, whatever it is, a day are dying. We had only 64 last Saturday for some reason, but it's because reporting is less on the weekends.
But you have a lot of people there, and the total number of people that are dying compared to the total number of people that get the disease. Listen, in New York.
No, but the total number of people who are dying today is comparable, if not above, the total number of people who are dying in March. That's as if we didn't do anything since March.
Okay, I'm going to look at Florida right now. I got my list up here. I've been keeping an Excel spreadsheet for the whole time. Yeah. Where's Dan? He's gone. He left. Yeah. You can't stand it. Okay.
I can't stay up too much later.
What is your county?
My county is a small county, so it's a
Let's
little
talk
different.
About Miami-Dade.
Take Orange instead of Seminole. I live in a small county in the northern quadrant of it really is a small county. There's only about 13,000 people
here. Let's do Seminole. Let's do wait, what did you
Seminole
say?
Orange is where Orlando is. I consider myself living in Orlando, and it's literally 4 miles away from me.
Okay, total deaths 635.
For what?
Orange County.
Today?
Total.
This week, total deaths, yeah. That's what I'm saying is like, yeah, but you know how many counties we have? You
have a lot of counties, so let's go to Florida in general then. Let's just look at Florida, okay?
We have like 68 counties, I think, or 69 counties.
You have 961,676 cases total, okay? You have 18,000 deaths. That means that, and you have 300,000 active cases, which means that way less than half of the cases are active at the moment, okay?
Right, yeah, people have recovered or died.
The number of people that recovered is 643,824. Your deaths per million people population is 850. In New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Louisiana, Mississippi, Rhode Island.
That's the interesting thing is that Louisiana is comparable to Louisiana's rates are comparable to New York's, and Louisiana never had that early surge that those guys had, that you had in March, April.
One Republican state in the fucking top 10 of deaths per million.
It's because fucking Wyoming shouldn't be a state by itself. It's got 820,000 people in it.
Wyoming,
have a low number.
The highest.
Those are most of the Republican states. Texas is up there, but there are only two states that have a good large number of people in them that are Republican states, because people, where they get together, they tend to see that that's per million. No, I prefer to talk about actual deaths, because we're at 2.5 million. We're at 250,000 actual dead.
But you don't want to talk about the population, because I'm telling you right now.
No, because even the deaths. No, because you're sitting in a situation where you're saying that we should just let people get sick, because only a percentage one. Total deaths versus total cases is the number that you should work on, and it's total deaths versus recovered cases is actually what the rate of survival is.
Okay, they're all. Have you seen which Republican state is worse off than any Democrat?
Well, Louisiana's in that grouping. Texas is comparable to Florida.
Please,
but Louisiana and Texas are kind of, they're purplish states.
Is Louisiana Republican for real?
Oh,
Texas,
yeah, deep Republican.
Texas is not even near the top. Texas is not near the top. Okay, they have over a million cases, but they also have way more population than.
Texas has a lot of people. Most of the states that you're saying the Republican states are doing better, but they're doing better only because they have lots of land and not people. It's easier for somebody. Because our government should be of the people, not of the sagebrush, not of the desert, of the mountain.
But why are you trying to tell me that it's a good idea to lock the economy down and stop?
I didn't say lock down. I thought the economy locked down because I took a job driving food from day 3, not day 1.
I would love food right now.
But from day 3, I started saying, you know what? We hit this with a blunt instrument, and we could have. I mean, I think certain things probably had to be shut down, like gyms and nail salons.
Hold on, now things shouldn't be shut down now.
No, but most things back then. It just struck me that why did they carve out a niche that was relatively safe for restaurants, but didn't carve it out for some other things?
Because coronavirus is a respiratory illness. It is spread through a virus through the respiratory cells. You can't even get it. If you put it on your open cut, it wouldn't give you coronavirus or COVID-2.
No, I mean, but like a couple of, I'll just throw 2 businesses that I missed. I needed to go to my pool store.
But they're closed, but Walmart is open.
And luckily I could get some of the things from Walmart or from Amazon.
The fucking pool guy goes out of business because he can't afford to continue to pay his rent.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that the pool guy should have gotten the same sort of treatment that the restaurant guy did. He'd say and the truth is, have you ever been to a pool store? I mean, we're in a place that's there's never 100 people in a pool store. You know what I mean? It's like you go there for a specific reason. I need some. It's there's no reason why they couldn't have said at that time to the pool guy, hey, you can stay open, keep people outside, only have 5 people in at a time, which probably would be about what their business normally was.
People are saying no, they shouldn't be able to do that.
No, they should be able to do that. That's the plan. It's I think that it was important that we did something, and it was easier to do the blunt.
Biden, everything that Biden has put out is exactly the same.
No, Biden has said no to the shutdown, but it's about strategic things, and there might be strategic shutdowns in certain locations.
He said no to the shutdown.
No, he said he did. He said no to the shutdown.
The guy was hired to be in charge of COVID. He did not say no to the shutdown.
He said that there might be, depending on how things get, if things got worse, you might need another shutdown. That is true.
For what? What did it do? Did it do anything for us?
Yes, it did.
Put a lot of people out of business that own small businesses.
It saved, based on what you said earlier, it saved possibly 1.5 million lives.
But you can't continue to do it because as a whole, you just cannot continue to keep the economy down.
No, you don't, and that's what the plan is going forward. The plan is your school can open, but we do it under these terms.
Guess what?
Your pool supply store can stay open, but we do it under these terms.
What terms?
Your architecture firm can be open, but we do it under these terms.
Guess what I think? I think they want to make it dependent on the government, so they could start with the fucking universal income, and they can make everybody dependent. And then now, guess what? Socialism has to take place. That's
I mean, the truth is that little help out, and the truth is what we got, what you got, what I got is nothing.
It's nothing, and
it's compared to what I was given a business on a regular basis.
Dude, people should have gotten more money for that, but
they passed it in April, they passed it again in July, and they passed it again in September.
Guess who passed it though? It's the fucking. Are you kidding me? You do realize all the shit.
3 times the Democrats passed it, and the important one was that April one, because the April one is the one that started us on the trajectory of hundreds of thousands of deaths.
Guess what?
Because
you're already trying to take care. They're like, oh, the stock market hit 30 because Biden win. Biden isn't even the fucking president-elect, so I don't know what.
The stock market is pretty happy about it being somebody that's more predictable.
You're kidding me, because Biden hasn't won jack shit yet. He is not the winner, as far as I'm concerned, and a lot of Americans feel the same way.
I can say that I feel that the 2020 World Series champion was the Chicago Cubs. I can feel that way. I can feel that way.
No. Let's talk about facts.
I can feel that.
Is he certified?
Pauly Shore movies are the best thing. No, certification takes this period of time. He's certified in most places. So and the truth is,
in most places, but you're telling me that it's okay to follow along with what most places say just because most places say it.
No, he's certified. He's certified by Pennsylvania, by Michigan.
No, he isn't. Guess what? He's not certified.
That's right. They took a day off tomorrow.
No, they actually came out and said we want to hear both sides before we certify. And there's a lot of states. Nevada is not certified. And as far as I'm concerned,
But even if Pennsylvania were stolen and flipped, Biden still has over 270.
A lie.
No, there is no way. There is no way that 70 million people voted for the most failed president in the history of the United States.
Failed how?
He killed 200,000 people. He killed more people in America than anybody not named Jefferson Davis.
Hold on a minute. You're telling me that Trump killed
by pushing people out, by lying about it the whole way. He literally said on that phone call,
I'm so sorry.
China. No, this is Trump's own words. It was his own words.
Yes.
President Xi told me this was airborne.
Hold on a minute.
And I keep that was
by the time that interview happened, President
February
Trump
26th.
had already closed off travel, which everybody.
No, he didn't.
You're lying.
He closed off travel to Chinese nationals.
That's how
and only not aboard. 40,000 people moved back and forth.
We
after
already
that.
had a coronavirus task force.
Which sat around twiddling their thumbs.
Hold on a minute. They didn't twiddle. That's your fucking family you're talking about. Fauci and Birx and all them every day.
That wasn't their fucking. It was because people listened to them. People independently. One of the great things about America is that people independently took it on themselves, including you, to listen to what they said.
Of course, I listen to what everybody says, and I try to come up with a reasonable assumptions of what people are saying.
It's like we've gotten about as far as
he didn't do anything and he ignored it, but he was coming out every single day. They were bitching about him coming out.
He was coming out and saying things that were false. He was saying that it wasn't a big deal. He was saying that we can shoot light up our butt. He was saying that hydrochloroquine was the answer.
That's a lie. You didn't listen to him, because if you did,
you only listened. You listened to a curated portion of him. I heard it too. I heard him say about it. What he says afterwards, he goes, whenever he's caught saying something stupid, which happens every week or so. No, he wasn't right about it. He wasn't right about hydrochloroquine has shown no good effects toward this thing.
For who?
For human beings.
Doctors saying that fucking every person that they treated with hydroxychloroquine lived. But why?
Well, that actually is the thing. It's like the truth is this is what you just said. This is what you just said.
You don't dig enough.
Listen to what you just said. Listen to what you said. According to the numbers, 99% of the people who get this, plus a little bit, not
99%, but a good
live.
Depends on where you live. How much
it's worse in some places, better in others. But the death rate's about I thought the death rate was like 0.85%.
It's fucking less than 1%, Douglas.
That's what did I just say 0.85? That's
overall.
Less than 1%. That's what I said. That's what I said.
Okay.
It is what I said.
Go on then with your point, whatever it is.
Well, the point being that if they treated someone with hydroxychloroquine and they survived, there's a 99% that they would have survived if they didn't get that treatment.
Oh,
and when
so
they did when they did controlled studies, when the medical people did controlled studies, the hydroxychloroquine didn't show much benefit.
So then why keep it from the American people? Since it's been used to go, if you go to Africa,
it's a really dangerous drug. If you go to Africa, you can't go to Africa now.
Dangerous drug. It's not a
no. If you travel 6-7 years ago, if you travel to Africa, they would give you 2 drugs if you went to your doctor. Choice of 2 drugs
before you even get there.
And the doctor would recommend that you take the more expensive drug and not hydroxychloroquine because there's so many bad effects. They give. No, the biggest buyer of hydroxychloroquine for malaria is the military because it's cheap.
Hydroxychloroquine has been fucking treating malaria for the last 70 years, and people do not die from hydroxychloroquine.
They improve. No, some people have died from hydroxychloroquine.
I'm sure some people have fucking died because they can't take a shit. Some people have died from fucking.
There's a reason why they've improved on that drug. If you're going to get an anti-malarial drug, there's a different drug that they would normally recommend you take.
Why are you trying to keep a drug that could save somebody's life? You just don't like the fact that Trump promoted it.
Well, because it was bad. It was bad advice.
Who died from it? Who got worse? Because
there actually was a story of a husband and wife in Texas, and the husband died from hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah, and somebody drank fucking bleach out of a fish tank too, or whatever, some cleaner that they said that Trump told them to take. That's not true. That turned out to be some woman, a Democrat, killing her husband. By the way, that turned out to be a fucking murder. Trump didn't tell anybody to drink bleach.
I'm gonna go look that up because if it was a murder is the most reported of all cases. There should be a record of that being a murder.
Where's the record? She literally gave it to her husband, who was a nice guy, and killed him. And tried to say that he took it because Trump said that he should. Which he did, by the way.
I'm going to give you a benefit of the doubt on this, but it does sound like something that Trump sort of would do.
Why do you say that?
Because they're low information voters. They're low information voters. They can't say that statement. They can't say that statement that Hillary was not a criminal. Democrats don't kill babies. I voted for Trump because I like him better. That's all you have to say. You can't even say it.
Criminal just because she had a
that's wrong.
Basement. You don't think that you think that she should have had a private server in her basement.
That's not a crime.
It's not. Okay.
It was a policy violation.
That's
a different thing.
Federal crime to disseminate information that is classified.
There was no proof that she was disseminating information to anyone. As a matter of fact, the server.
James Comey said straight up that it was a lie, that she did not distribute classified information on that server. That's
Is this the one thing you believe James Comey on?
Do you not believe that?
James Comey also.
Any of this.
James Comey also said that there were 16 interactions between.
So you don't believe
Trump's people and that. No, I'm just saying you don't believe James Comey.
I don't believe a fucking word that most of these motherfuckers say. Okay, that's the truth.
Unless it agrees with your worldview.
That's not true. My worldview is open. That's the lie between you and me.
You can't. No. You're just not. You can't say that Democrats don't kill babies and Hillary Clinton's not a criminal.
It depends on
what those are facts.
The baby. I believe that the Democrats do not care about an unborn child. They do not care. They would rather allow you to make a decision to have an abortion at 8 months pregnant. See, I believe that
it's like they would rather you if you are faced with death or having a child, they'd rather you have that choice. Yes, they would. 100% of them would.
So would Republicans.
No, they wouldn't.
Bullshit. Every single one of them would say that.
No, in the Republican platform, even though they don't have one this year, they said do whatever. But in 1980, they said they want a constitutional amendment banning abortions.
They do not fight for that right now. Nobody's trying to get rid of Roe v. Wade. We don't approve of allowing a person to abort a baby at 8 months pregnant because at some point,
and neither do Democrats unless it's like mother.
Really?
Really?
Then what are we fighting for? Why are we fighting?
Because Because Trump voters are so misinformed that they build up this false world that requires you only get information from them that's not empirically verifiable by any other source.
Dude, Trump supporters literally have to fucking go out and dig for information.
They have to dig for misinformation.
Why do you say it's misinformation? Like what?
Because it's false.
Like what?
Whatever the Project Veritas guys say. Like Hillary Clinton's a criminal. That's false information.
Okay.
Like
How
Hillary
about
Clinton sold uranium to the Russians. That's false information.
Is it misinformation to say that Trump has made America a better life for many people that live here? That their life is better now than it was 4 years ago?
There are some, but they're mostly people who had their grandma die and got an inheritance.
Okay.
Those guys are better. Grave diggers are better off.
Oh.
It's been a year for grave diggers.
That's so ignorant. I mean, it's just so.
You're saying it's a worse year for grave diggers?
I think that 95% of Americans are better off because of Trump, his policies. I believe.
There's not a single person in America who's better off because of Trump's policies who can say Democrats don't kill babies, Hillary Clinton's not a criminal.
I don't care about your fucking baby.
No, the reason is because
I'm going to tell you.
If you hand a fake thing, it's like you see what's going on. The mattress firm down the road closed. The Denny's closed. The Denny's closed on the corner over here.
Oh,
you know, it's like no, Denny's have big money, big pockets.
Yeah,
it's like.
And they closed. Why?
They closed because of the rampant spread of coronavirus, keeping people from it. Because Denny's is not the kind of place that you choose to go. It's the kind of place you kind of end up at.
And that's Trump's fault. Because of that. Yeah. That's Trump's fault.
If we had done the job that Canada or France had done, that place might be open.
Hold on a minute. Whoa, wait a minute. You're telling me France did a better job? At what?
By about controlling the virus by about
controlling the virus. How? Let's talk about this. How did they?
No, they're in trouble too. Don't get me wrong.
No. I want to know how if you would have done it like them.
A slower rate of death.
How? How did they do it?
They locked down more strictly and longer. They didn't open up the store. They didn't open up the store before the peak happened.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Which we did.
Guess what? France for deaths per million.
There's like four.
They're 780, and the America is 805 per million people.
So they're better.
Oh, by 15 fucking deaths per million people.
No, the reason I bring up France and Canada.
Bring it up. Bring up Canada.
The reason I bring up France and Canada is because those are the G20 countries at one end.
There is no G20 without the United States of America. You got it?
There's a list of 20 countries without the United States of America. But the point being is that France has done the worst outside the United States, and Canada has done the best outside the United States of the G20 countries.
What about Canada? Wait a minute. You're telling me out of the G20 candidate. Okay, is Spain part of it? Italy, are they part of it?
Italy are in it, yeah.
They're both way worse. How about the UK? Are they in it? They're way worse.
They're not way worse. The UK isn't.
Total deaths per million. The UK ranks 7th in total deaths per million, right behind Italy and Spain.
What's their number?
Their number is 875 deaths per million.
Okay, those maybe they are worse, but there are countries that have done better than us. And the truth is, I think that with proper leadership, if we had a president, we would have done better. Then we had somebody that sat in his room.
It's your president. It's actually your vice president that left.
And I've always said that.
Nothing, dude, as the backup stock. The federal government had nothing.
The federal government had a plan for this. They didn't have. Yeah, the president. Trump told that he didn't even have a vaccine for a disease that didn't exist yet.
Wait a minute.
And the truth is, the reason why the coronavirus didn't exist under Barack Obama, we can agree on that.
What about the fucking PPE stock? What about the
PPE stock? The PPE stock was being built up, but there was a problem that they gave the stuff.
5 years. It was a problem to build it up for 5 years. You're telling me they left him with full stock and he just said fuck it?
No. The problem with the PPE stock, and this is something that went across the board everywhere, is because there was shortages of money. Some of the PPE
what about
stock.
The fact that they were sending out, they were getting the actual companies that are American companies were building PPE and manufacturing it and sending it to the highest bidder. How about that? He had to fucking literally put an executive order out to say you can't ship your PPE to China because we actually need it in this country. That's how fucked it is.
Well, there's the thing. There should have been a national plan from the get-go, but if we had a president
Oh, really?
that cared about Americans,
had a plan, even though he's never been a fucking.
but this is the reason why we're. This is the reason why we're worse. Though the thing about it is that whatever you can say about him, not
another thing. Here's the thing.
whatever you say about him being
wars,
being.
wars?
Let's talk about Trump some more.
Let's talk about wars. Let's talk about bringing our soldiers home. How about Trump?
He's doing that. He's doing it on the next guy's shift. He's saying, I'm bringing these guys home, but we're doing it in 2021.
Been bringing people home.
And that's what Bush did,
too.
Did
he start? Oh, you lying piece of shit.
No, but Bush did the same thing. When he said, when Bush said he was getting out of Iraq, he gets credit for saying that. But the plan wasn't until the next person.
Trump is the only fucking president that really actually wants the United States out of war. He's the only one.
I sort of actually believe that a little bit.
Yeah, it's true.
No. There are certain.
Family is making all kinds of money contracting for war.
How much money is the Trump family making?
Are you kidding me? Trump has been a fucking international businessman for his entire life.
Yeah, the best 4 years of his. He's been a 5-time bankrupt. His best year he ever had was the last couple years.
Hold on.
He was able.
Fucking lie. Excuse me.
3-time bankrupt. How many bankruptcies?
Biden comes into politics as a middle-class person and leaves as a fucking multimillionaire. How do you think that happened? It's impossible on the amount of money that they get paid.
He didn't. No. It actually isn't impossible.
It is impossible. We know how much they make: $200,000 a year. He's been in for 47 years.
No, he went
$10 million house.
It's not his fault. He doesn't live in a $20 million house.
$10 million.
He doesn't live in a $10 million house. His house is worth like $600,000. Everyone's putting that. He bought the DuPont house when he was depressed. Put a lot of work in it. But he doesn't live in that house. He doesn't live in that. He doesn't live in that big house that they're spreading around.
I don't care.
The DuPont house.
He's got he's got millions of dollars, and he works on a fucking salary that would never afford him that money.
He put out his tax returns for last year. He put out tax returns last year, and he said he made $900,000, mostly from speaking engagements.
Guess what? Why did he tell Ukraine that he wouldn't give them $1 billion in aid unless they fired a prosecutor who had never done anything wrong legally?
That's straight QAnon. That is conspiracy.
How is that Q? What the fuck? It's on video.
They had people testifying who were there, said it didn't happen during the impeachment trial.
It's on video.
It is not him saying that is on video. There's been no proof of Biden being involved in that at all. Now he did leverage the spot. He did leverage the spot, but the truth is the only person that leveraged Ukraine was the guy that was impeached for it.
You're kidding me right now. You're kidding me.
This is how misinformed Trump voters are.
I gotta go. I'm not going to listen to this. It's bullshit. You're telling me I'm misinformed.
No, go look up some bullshit and believe that.
What
that makes America a better place. Your duty as an American citizen is to be an educated voter. And I think you're shirking it.
And you're telling me that a fucking video of Biden saying straight up that he will not give the motherfucker, when they're in the middle of a war against Russia, he told them, we will not give you the money unless you fucking fire a prosecutor who he says is a criminal, but he's never done a fucking thing wrong and has no record. And he's telling him that he has to fire him. And the next day he's fired.
There is.
And you're telling me that didn't happen, right?
Well, there was a UN resolution against the guy that was removed, and so there is a modicum of truth out there. Where 17 or so countries, this guy was.
I don't care. You're out of your fucking mind. 17 or so countries
thought that this guy was a problem, but of course QAnon doesn't. So.
Does he have a record of any kind of criminal action at all? The guy came through to testify on behalf of the fact that he was fired for no reason.
Does Xi Jinping have a record of criminal activity? Does
then how are you going to say he's a fucking criminal if he has?
He's only not convicted because there's a corruption in the government, and that's what they were trying to root out.
You really believe that, right? That he just wasn't any kind.
He paid off the right people. This was something that was a UN. This was a UN resolution against the guy for the things that he's doing.
What about Biden saying that on air? What about that? Is that a lie?
No, he did pressure them to move the thing through.
So
but
basically, he did the exact thing that they impeached Trump for. Then, basically,
no, he didn't, because Trump did it for his own personal gain.
How know. He wants to know.
He wanted material effects for
He
his
wants
campaign.
to know why Hunter Biden is getting paid $83,000 a month, and the motherfucker is a drug addict.
Do you know how many? I mean, it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon for the board of directors to be paid in for-profit companies that kind of money. What was his job? His job was board of directors. That's what he put him on.
He was a fucking advisor on the board of directors. That's what his technical job was.
And those guys, the advisors of the board of directors of Fox.
You don't want to know what his job was.
The advisors of Fox, like the movie theater who also own Fox News, their guys get paid sometimes upward of $20 million a year.
Excuse me, why is it wrong for Trump to ask what's going on when there's the most corrupt company in the fucking world, Burisma? They do natural gas, by the way. How about this? Why wouldn't they just say no fracking in the United States so we can actually go through fucking Burisma to get our natural gas? Because we're going to make so much money. $83,000 a month this guy was getting paid, and he doesn't have a right to ask about that? He got impeached for asking about it. But you don't seem to want to know if it was really happening or not, and why 83.
No, he was impeached, so the Congress said it happened.
Oh, please, dude.
No, and then in sentencing, they decided that
the phone call, the transcript is out. The transcript. Did you read it?
Yeah.
Are you not okay with it? You think that was a horribly
No, he was asking something for his personal campaign. He was asking for something for his personal campaign. Why was Hunter Biden a person of interest for him? Why was Hunter Biden? If he had said, "Give me the information about how Burisma is corrupt," that would have been fine. But he said,
know how Burisma was corrupt because it's all over the world how Burisma is corrupt. He could.
Well, but he said, "I want the guy that'll help my campaign."
He didn't.
I don't want anybody else.
See, this is uninformed. This is you listening to Adam Schiff, who made up a fucking total lie conversation. What if you read the transcript and you listen to what Adam Schiff said happened? See, Adam Schiff didn't think that they would put this transcript out to the public.
Well, one, the transcript was damning, but it was redacted. There were 3 other people that testified that said it was actually worse than that.
What the fuck are you talking about? We have the transcript of the call.
It's not a full transcript. It isn't of the call.
Who the fuck has access to that and has the right to say what and what not? Who has the access to the real transcript? Bill Barr.
Bill Barr does.
Bill Barr is still sticking up for Trump. So what? Oh, he's just
he's his consigliere.
What if this is true that the fucking Democratic Party is the most totally corrupt lion machine that you've ever seen?
If you could show me more than, the truth is, you're going to find in any group of 1 million people or larger, there's going to be some bad people. I say this all the time. If you go to Walmart, there's a chance that one of the people that you're talking to is a murderer.
For sure,
right? But to say that it is more than like 5% of the Democrats, that would be
the people in charge of the government in this country.
But you think Hillary Clinton's a criminal?
Dude, she is a criminal just
so by your standards, I'm a criminal and you're a criminal, and
so you could
call criminals
a criminal, right? Everybody's a criminal, right? Wait, we
do know that the first thing he did when he got president is he settled a fraud complaint for $20 million.
Straight up, you didn't even read the emails that came out of Clinton's fucking server. You didn't even
read
them.
There were 30,000 of them.
I read a lot of them, and they are disgusting against we the people of this country.
How are they disgusting? Name one thing that was disgusting about them.
That we're going to tell the people that vote for us one thing, and then we're going to tell the fucking establishment another thing. And that's like the minor.
That literally is, that's politics. People do it all the time.
Okay. What about why would she have a server, dude? Why would she have a private server?
Private servers have been used by, one of the reasons why they didn't prosecute, because it was a policy violation, but the other was that private servers had been used by numerous people in the government, and they would have to arrest like 140 people if they thought
let's all go along with you. Hillary Clinton is not a criminal. Now, do you believe me?
Democrats don't kill babies. That's the biggest lie, because once you leave that lie,
fine, I'll leave
every other lie is possible. Because that is such a horrible lie.
I'm telling you 100% the truth. The media is lying to you every day. The people that you used to trust, like AP and New York Times, they are lying to you. Do you understand that?
I know that when somebody is this failed, it's better to think there's some vast conspiracy causing this to happen, because it's tough to put yourself as the bad guy in any kind of narrative. But the truth is, and we're going to find out more of the truth once he leaves, because we're going to, a lot of things that have been redacted are going to be not redacted.
Some bullshit on this guy since he became the president.
Yeah, because he's the most secretive guy in the world.
Oh my God, Trump is not secretive. Okay, he is not.
Where like I said, like the Comey report was highly redacted. That conversation, even though they had like 17 pages, we saw 2.5 pages of it. It's like, what about his tax returns? His tax returns that were promised.
It's none of your fucking business. His tax returns. They're
you can say that, but it goes toward him being secretive.
You've got to be kidding me. Number one, how about this? The tax return.
Every presidential candidate since like the 1960s has done that.
It doesn't fucking matter. It's not.
Yeah, because he had something. Don't you think it would be valuable for you as a voter to know whether or where the guy's getting his money from?
Here's the thing. The year before he paid $750, he already prepaid his taxes. Do you realize that he paid millions of dollars in taxes every year? And the one year he paid $750, that was because the ways that the laws are set up, you're allowed to write off business expenses. And just because he didn't pay it in that,
but there are problems in his business expenses. Those things we're gonna find out in the next 3 or 4 months.
You never gave this guy a chance, and
I gave him a chance. I said the same thing at the beginning. This is true. You can call my brother. I said that I thought that Trump.
What did he do to make you stop giving him a chance?
I thought that Trump, out of the Democratic candidates, out of the Republican candidates, was our best hope. Partially because there's some pretty bad apples in there, but partially because I thought.
I've known you for.
No, you didn't know me.
I've known you since Trump became a president.
Yeah, there was about the time we got on that. Yeah, I voted for Clinton, but I really thought, I did say this to people. I got beat up for it in a few situations because I thought that Trump would be, as a businessman, in my experience with businessmen, even egotistical ones. I worked for one for about 4 years once.
Do you want to be?
Is that if somebody were to give them a good idea, they wouldn't reject it because it comes from a source they don't like. That's one thing about like a good businessman versus an ideologue. And when he came in, there were a lot of things that he said in his speeches coming into office, and I really do believe this. If he had started with infrastructure rather than tax breaks, if he didn't put such a high priority.
It's the best economy this country's ever seen. There's more.
That's not true.
Working. That's a lie. You're going to try to tell me it's not.
There are fewer people. There are fewer people working today than were working when Trump took office.
COVID, dude, because of COVID.
But how can it be the best economy in the world and that be true? You could say he had. You can say he had extraordinary circumstances, but you can't say it's the best economy ever. That is completely false.
I don't care anymore. I just can't. I just want you to know that just because I see things different does not mean that I'm uninformed. I'm the last thing from uninformed. I pay attention to what's going on.
Yeah, it probably misinforms a better word. You know, if you go out of your way, like the thing is like this is part of the scientific method. You know, it's like if somebody does something and says that it happened, that's fine. It's good news. But until somebody can replicate it, it's not taken as a fact. And the truth is that most of the stories that you hear from mainstream news sources. I don't pay attention to mainstream news sources. But the thing about it is that they can be individually verified and have been by 3-4 other sources. Fact checkers. The guys at Project Veritas, when they have this guy in blackface, blacked out, saying something that happened, that's the only one they've ever seen, and that can't be duplicated. So it casts doubts into it because you only find one guy saying something, and you don't even like let us know who he is.
Don't pay attention to it because it's probably lies.
Well, no, it's most likely lies. Yeah.
I don't know how they fucking make up lies on a video camera, dude, where we actually see people having a conversation and we're in.
Because the people that they say that the conversations with aren't those people, or they're people who don't have the power they said that
Show
they
me
had.
one. Show me one. Like you're
There was the famous one from a long time ago,
like 12 years ago.
where they went in. Well, I'm saying I have to name one off my head. I don't pay attention to people that lie to me all the time. I don't pay attention. I don't watch My Little Pony. I don't read the astrology column.
Douglas, good night.
So to give you an example, I go to the one that everyone remembers.
Let's just go on good terms. Love you. Have a good night. Happy Thanksgiving.
You have a good night too.
Happy
Thanksgiving.
Okay, bye.